It's about that time, everybody. Welcome to the DAF Gaming League Warzone Finals.
And that will actually move Aqueous himself up to 2. Here comes 3. One of the players in this is currently on 1, but Aqueous is going to move himself on up to 5. Unable to get Jay back in right now. Doesn't even have the cash. If he is able to get there, and actually Dalt's in big trouble. Just about manages to slip away.
And it looks like he's going to go for it. The full send. Smokes out. Welcome back. He bought back his opponent. Oh no.
He actually ended up falling behind, mostly off the back of the incredible performance here that Dalt has been putting in as he moves himself up to double digits.
And Jay right above him. Nice shots coming out from Aqueous. You get the communication to look up and take care of business. Jay will get that done. So Field comes through. Second one hits the deck. The drop shot number 2.
Jay manages to get the down elsewhere, but you are still within UAV ping distance of this nearby stronghold, so you've got to be careful because anyone could be coming into third party.
Full slide cancel from Dalt. Looking for all these kills that are ahead of him. Nice double kill coming out.
Scopes work. That might be 1, so he needs essentially 2 more. Finds the second. Beautiful play out of him. Now, if this next kill comes through, if this comes through, it's a victory for Dalt. This will get busier now as we start to hit Old Town, and there's 1 for Dalt already.
Replayed. Somebody's chasing him. Turns around. Oh, the burn coming out from Aqueous, and there's more.
It looks like a lot of people like hitting out here nice and early, and oh, good lord, a lot of people like hitting out nice and early indeed. Joker's in big trouble.
A very scary turnaround for that. Now looking to kill another player before he gets that gun, and that's an MCW. In a way, there's 2 in his sights. The first one gets knocked. The second one is on the prowl. Pounds with a double kill. Joker clutching up for his squad. Beam Season Boogaloo looking to tie us up here in our second semifinal. Tones is going to pop up, see if he can find these kills. He's going to walk away with it. That's his 3rd inside of the map.
SWAT team comes running down the main street. Joker's going to get aggressive. Got to use these tight alleys to isolate some gunfights.
Oh, Joker. Oh, Joker. Joker is on 10 kills right now. He's going to find another knock. Player's just not ready for what Joker is bringing to the lobby. 1 HP against him. Another player goes down. Joker is unstoppable. Here we go. The race is on. Drops down. Armor is cracked. Finds the kill. And that's it. That is it. Dalt and Tones about maybe 1 or 2 kills behind, but this is a race now. From Tones, it's going to be locked. We are tied, and now for the win, Dalt, he is hunting, and there we go. The DAF Gaming League Champions. It's the Goofy Gopher Gaming Squad.
In any other setting, I'm not going to be able to compete like I do in the Air Force Gaming. I enjoy that aspect of it, and they just have a lot of cool tournaments and stuff, and since I've been in for a year, it's grown a lot.
Welcome, one and all. It's time for the DAFGL Fall 2023 Finals.
Excited to cast some awesome Rocket League.
Fits and bursts, but nothing really too controlled. That a lot better infield pass, and that is the opening goal.
The orange you can see here, they're kind of playing a little slower than I said.
No.
Just too slow. Tut takes the lead on that one.
William, the MVP, to round things off. Still no goal to show for it. At the other end, though, another post is hit. Finally, a shot properly on target. It was strong defense, but clearly not strong enough. Persistence is key.
Eternal Reign has not let a single goal in these last 2 games.
But round the corner, we might have a chance here for free agents. Oh, they got a goal! H3, not to the... Well, I mean, they were actually going to set up themselves, but Hydration kind of takes it off them. Every single goal that goes in, that's only going to fuel the confidence. It is a double hat-trick. Do you want to see them be punchy and throw caution to the wind, or would you rather see them build into things as we actually saw demonstrated from them in the semi-finals? Well, we're going to get that answer immediately. Downfield, Lurtek has stolen that 100 boost back into the middle for William. Oh, the team that has gone behind first has now gone into the lead, and they can't stop scoring. That seems quite egregious from... Oh, it's a double commit. Oh, no.
It was a wonderful buff by Will.
The momentum, oh dear. The mistakes continuing to pile up.
Crucial demo to try and get the ball up the field with a nice shot from Zarison and a goal.
Tut back down to earth, misses out on that follow-up, and it will be overtime. Upfield opportunity. It's hydration. Going to be going out of position, but that is properly good.
Kind of swinging towards Eternal Reign, and just as I say that, static comes through.
Down to Lurtek. Is that on target? Just high? That's certainly going to be on target. 3-0 William.
Kind of loft this ball in.
Okay.
Zarison picks it up and gets a goal with a minute and a half left.
That's not enough time, folks. Spiked It's Static who come out on top.
A brand new set of games, a brand new game in general. We got Smash Ultimate up. Be fast to maybe get this one back. Trying to punish off stage from this Bowser Jr. looking to recover, but Kid Carlton making it so hard, even if he does take a stock away from Cancel, but the jab, that's the kill.
Is it? There are a lot of jazz hands when you look at that.
Oh, whoa. I feel like this is the highest percentage we've seen from both characters, and that's going to be it for Kid Carlton. Game number 1, total traitor.
Oh, no. Just these little chip shots, and then we jump out for forward airs to close out games as well. XP making Greninja look godlike.
Of course.
Oh, the counter.
Barely hanging on. Healed now, looking to recover. Maybe take him down with him, but instead the freeze hits Shmove, and Healed makes it back.
There's kind of a counter response to the aggression, but Greninja is so fast. Is that it?
That's it. Let's hop into this grand final. Game number 1. Shmove on one side, Cancel on the other. Trying to see if he can catch Cancel lacking, but that's not the case. It's hard to catch this Bowser Jr. lacking. Send Shmove into game number 2. Oh, barely getting that shield up, and the jab, and there it is. Guard there for the Greninja, but excellent agility coming out from this Bowser Jr. Back in towards this edge guard, but Shmove with the substitute. Bringing it back. Here's the Bowser Jr. Shmove looking to recover, making it very difficult.
Oh, this is getting very intense.
He's literally barely holding on to strings right now. The jab, and that right there is exactly what you're trying to avoid. It has to be flawless smash from this Greninja from here on out, and Cancel has not allowed him to even play some sort of smash. Cancel also has tricks that he hasn't shown just yet, and he has ways to adapt to this Greninja, and right here he finds it yet again off the stage. That's game. That's the grand final, and Cancel sitting on the throne here of Smash Ultimate, your brand new champion in the DAFGL League. Congratulations on the win.
Feels pretty great. I'm looking forward to that jersey again.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first day of the Department of the Air Force Gaming League Finals weekend here in the spring season. My name is Grapes. I'm joined alongside Hawk, and we are here to cover the League of Legends semifinals and finals of what has been a great event supporting our Air Force community members. Hawk, how are you doing today? You ready to cast some games?
My friend, I am doing great. You know, all those late night ARAMs paying off. We get to cast the ARAMs, and I mean, it's so great to be doing it for the Air Force Gaming League. I think a really cool program that has, I mean, you know, talking to some of the players, built a really awesome community within the Air Force revolving around gaming, which I think is just an absolutely awesome cause. And I mean, my friend, we get to cover it all day today.
I know. 3v3 ARM, I will admit, is not a format that I've played a ton of. However, I've gotten to understand the format and some of the ways and strategies that these players have been employing by talking to some of them over the last couple of hours. And so we're ready to have a great time and watch some really fun games. So super excited to get things started. I believe we do have the bracket that we can pull out just to let everybody know the teams that will be participating here today. And again, it is a best of 3 3v3 ARAM tournament that is happening right now. There was a big Swiss stage to get to the bracket, and we are now going to be covering the semifinals and the finals. And we'll see here, Hawk, our first game will be the B1 Zone versus Pillarman, followed by Freedom Fighters and CTL6.
Yeah. Other way around, I do believe we might have... is it Freedom Fighters first? Is that what I was told? But regardless... I mean, we'll be covering each of the semifinals in succession, and then, as you said, best of 3s, and then the finals will also be best of 3. And, you know, the teams, they also, worth noting, played games to get to this point, to get to their seeding, and then, of course, there were 6 total teams, so already, you know, previously, Pillarmen defeating 184th Jayhawks, and then CTL6 defeating High Flyers to even get to this semifinal, Grapes.
And I think a really cool thing about the groups of players that will be playing here today is that they come from all over the country, and even some people that are stationed outside of the United States. We got to talk to some players that were in the UK, and just being able to see these communities of gamers getting formed by members of the Air Force. Very, very awesome to see because, you know, there's a ton of gamers that are big, you know, that love League of Legends. We're able to come together. We'll talk more about some of the specific teams and how they ended up meeting, but a really cool opportunity to compete against each other and, of course, for some good fun against some other members of the Air Force.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm sure like a little bit of base bragging rights. Some of these teams are, you know, dedicated to certain bases. Some are not. I'm sure that comes into play as well. I know these guys are almost certainly a little bit competitive with one another. And Grapes, you know what the best part is that they're not just playing for those bragging rights. There are some prizes on the line here.
We can take a look right now. Of course, the first place winner will earn that exclusive Spring 2024 Challenge coin. That's going to be very cool. And this first matchup, Hawk, is going to be very, very exciting because whoever makes it to the finals, top 2, get a custom Air Force Gaming or SFG jersey delivered to them. And I know talking to some of the players before the games are starting today, they were all very much looking forward to getting the chance to get that jersey. But a lot of also really cool equipment and stuff that they're going to be able to pick up.
Yeah, you get the sweet coin if you win it all. I mean, basically, it's the coin is like what's really up for grabs, and then you want to get the best swag pack possible. And I don't know, if you ask me, it sounds pretty good. I was talking to one of the players on Pillarmen earlier, and he was like, dude, I just want the patch, which fortunately already has it in hand. So, yeah. I mean, you know, like, that's good.
You get the stickers, a water bottle, desk mat, all great stuff, of course, here. And they've already gotten to that second tier, the 3rd/4th at the very least. And so we're super excited to see how that works. But before we get into the rosters and talking about how these teams might match up against each other, let's talk a little bit about the format here, Hawk, because 3v3 ARAM, that's not something that we see a lot, but like, what can you tell us about what we're going to potentially expect in this game mode?
Wow, you're making me the expert here, huh? I mean, look, I guess
I know you play a lot of ARAM, so
I do play a lot of ARAMs. I mean, it's hard to say when it comes to 3v3s, but I do think like it becomes a totally different ballgame when there's just fewer champions that are able to hit you, right? And then all of a sudden, having that individual agency becomes so incredibly important. And, you know, I think also in some ways scaling becomes less valuable. You know, just go hands check your opponent, make it happen, have a good time. So I feel like that is sort of the expectation that I have. And I would imagine, you know, especially with all the bragging rights and everything on the line, I think the teams would go in with a similar mentality.
Yeah, there are some people who had that mindset and other people who said that they try to scale in these games, which I thought was very interesting. Something about Howling Abyss is now that when you have less players on your team, you actually level up a lot faster.
Yes,
and so
this
champions
is true.
that can hit level 16, like a champion like Kassadin, who benefits a lot from getting those high levels, they'll get that power spike at around the 12 to 15 minute mark in an ARAM game, which is relatively early on. And so in this situation, like, maybe picking some late game champions actually does matter, even though the pace of play is going to be increased.
It's good for, you know, individual agency scaling, right? But it's not as much about the team fight. It's more about, like, the skirmish. So I think that's going to be the important thing. But Grapes, we can get started with the rosters for our first matchup here in the semifinals. As we said earlier, Freedom Fighters, CTL6 going to be squaring off. Freedom Fighters are coming in as the 2 seed. However, they have been said to potentially be the favorites. April Properling and Kemsa, these guys are all Masters Graves.
Yeah, which is very impressive considering they're all in the active duty as well. Some really, really fun players that, of course, didn't even need to play in that first round because they had that automatic bye. They're going to be up against CTL6, who have Zigify Gaming, Nerd, and Adam the Pancake. I know that those guys all are pretty excited to get the opportunity to play in this semifinal match, even though it could be against a bit of a tougher opponent. And we actually got a chance, Hawk, to talk to some of the players before the semifinals began. You got a chance to sit down with Shiro, and so let's hear from what he has to say.
All right, now I'm joined by Shiro from Freedom Fighters. And Shiro, I've just got to ask you off the bat, how excited are you to be going up against some of your fellow Air Forcemen and this competitive tournament?
Thank you for having me here. I'm just very excited today to finally finish this tournament off.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have, you know, any thoughts on like the community that Air Force Gaming has been able to build, and you know, what it means to be able to you know, play in this?
I think that this program that Air Force Gaming has launched has definitely been a very big, I don't know what the word is, but it's been very important in bringing us together for gaming, because I don't think I would have ever met any of these people from other bases if it wasn't for this program, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, and how it does seem like, you know, such a great community has been built. And I mean, outside of Air Force Gaming, do you have any thoughts on, you know, what being in the Air Force in general has meant to you?
Being in the Air Force has definitely taught me a lot more things than I could have asked for. It's taught me discipline, taught me how to appreciate things, for sure.
Amazing. All very important skills. Well, Shiro, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you out there and seeing how you're able to do today.
Sir, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much to Shiro. It's really great to hear from all these different players about what their experience in both the Air Force is like and also their connection to gaming itself.
Yeah, I mean, really cool getting to talk to the players, and I think in particular, I mean, getting to talk to them about, you know, not just the game itself, but like what the community means and everything, I think is really, really awesome to see from each of them. And Grapes, I mean, the best part is too, he's not the only one we talked to.
Yeah, exactly. On the other side for CTL6, I got a chance to sit down with Adam, who will be playing on that team today. Let's hear from him. Hello, everybody. I am here with Adam, who is playing on CTL6 today in the DAFGL League of Legends tournament. Adam, first of all, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. Now, I know that you are based in the UK right now with the Air Force, and obviously getting to play with some people across the pond over in NA. Like, what has that experience been like overall for you, and how has you know, being able to play these games helped you in that way?
I think it's a very cool opportunity to meet all these different people from the States. Although it is a bit more challenging for me because of the time difference and the ping difference, I think it's still a great time to meet all these new people, play with them, and just experience the League community in the Air Force.
Great. And I know that some of the people have created teams like of players from the same base, but is that the same situation with CTL6, or are these some players that are kind of all over the country that you've been able to meet because of this opportunity?
So currently, my other two teammates are both in the States. One's in Maxwell and one's in Hill Air Force Base, and they hit me up because I think it was Zig. He was a commentator on one of the other tournaments, and he said he liked how I played, and so he hit me up asking to be on my team for this 3v3 tournament.
That's super exciting. And I guess my last question to you is, you know, being a part of the Air Force, serving, of course, for the United States, and then being connected to gaming, like, what has that community kind of been like of gamers, and do you feel like you've been able to meet a lot of other gamers through this program?
Yeah, so it's actually been pretty cool. I've met a lot of different people from a lot of different places, a lot of people with different ranks, of course, but it doesn't seem like that, you know, the hierarchy of the Air Force where people are like based off of ranks and stuff. It's just more people wanting to have a relaxing time and enjoy playing video games, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, some true gamers, of course, in the Air Force. Adam, thank you very much, and best of luck to your team as they go on into the semifinals of this tournament.
Thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Thank you so much to Adam the Pancake, all the way from the United Kingdom, and still playing some League of Legends with the rest of his teammates here in the States. It's hopefully the ping doesn't affect him too much, because I know he's the highest ranked player on his team today.
Yeah, but, you know, it sounds like the vibes going in. I mean, despite all that, very, very good. Look, Grapes, I've played enough ARAMs, actually, with people having the same problems, and won enough of them to, like, I think CTL6, they'll be fine. You know, they got this.
Yeah. I think the best thing about this format is, even though a team like Freedom Fighters is full of really high-ranked players, just the volatility of,
Oh, yeah.
you know, one fight can just change the entire trajectory of the game. There's going to be so many different fights, so there'll be so many different opportunities for things to kind of shift around. If CTL6 just play really aggressive, I think they'll have a good chance to maybe pull off a bit of an upset. But we do know the draft is ready. We'll send it away. Now, this is a draft pick 3v3 Howling Abyss game. So each team is going to get 3 bands, and then they will pick in draft order, which means that Freedom Fighters over on blue side are actually going to have their first pick of what champion to play.
Yeah, and not only is it draft pick, right, as you said, Grace, but it's going to be the tournament draft style. So it's going to be 1 pick from blue side, 2 from red, 2 from blue, and then 1 last one from red, which is so interesting to me because I feel like in the 3v3, the counter pick does not necessarily matter as much because you're not picking for matchups, but you do have to make sure that on blue side, you're getting a composition that is going to be foolproof, right? And that can't be easily countered by one pressure valve champion or another. Seems like a lot of the tankier options, though, getting removed. You talk about the volatility. Freedom Fighters seem to be the ones wanting to increase on that aspect.
Yeah, getting to talk to some players about what they think the meta kind of looks like in this event. Typically, they want one champion that can really hard engage, one champion that can either be a tank or a support chip pick, and then one champion that can dish out a ton of damage and be that main carry. So right now, it seems like Freedom Fighters probably want to go with a ton of marksman maybe, because Malphite and Rammus are 2 champions that counter that pretty heavily. And Zigify plays a lot of Hecarim, so I'm not surprised to see that that pick has also been taken away. And we'll see what they ended up picking. Obviously, you know, the rank differentials are pretty large. Another pocket pick there in the Xerath going to be taken away from Popriling. And now I'm very curious to see what these compositions look like.
And the Yasuo getting slammed down. This is what it's all about, baby. It's the, you know, the ego picks. It's about the styling. You know, you're going to get the tanks coming through on the other side. But, I mean, I would expect them to just go for a knockup comp here on the side of Freedom Fighters, right? You've got the Yasuo. I mean, I guess they banned the Malphite away themselves, but something like Alistair, Gragas, anything that can create that space for the Yasuo to be able to operate and try to get those knockups for the big ultis would be the direction that I expect.
Ooh, could we get the Wind Brothers dueling it out against each other? The Yone on the other side for CTL6 could be a possibility, and that's going to be locked in right now. I will say, you know, when we look around at the champions that these different players play on CTL6, we see Zigify, a lot of Hecarim, and then kind of a jungle main for the most part. Gaming Nerd plays a lot of AD carry, but Adam the Pancake, who we talked to in our interview, is such a wild card. He has so many different champions and playstyles that he enjoys playing, and so I'm very curious about what that means as we head into our final phase. We'll say Freedom Fighters, they picked a lot of high damage champions, and so if they just make a couple of mistakes, it's very easy for them to get one shot and get wiped in the fight.
Yeah, but on the other side of the board, right? I mean, if they get going, it's going to be so difficult to deal with. I will say, Yone Syndra with the last pick as well. A lot of ability to create space, and the Syndra is going to outrange every single other character in this game. The Zac likewise. So, you know, you talk about getting those kind of champions that can create space, having that big tank for the carries. I think CTL6, they're onto something here, but Kemsa, 69 games, this is most played, a 61% win rate Azir, and 370 LP Master. That is definitely going to be something to respect. Also has the Emperor's Divide to try to set up for April on this Yasuo.
All right, let's get started here. We got the Poro saying hello, taking a little snooze before the action gets started here in the semifinals of the Air Force Gaming League League of Legends tournament. And I'm super excited to see both how this format works and what these 2 teams are going to bring to the table.
Yeah, and Grapes, the expectation at the very least should be blood. You can already see the skill shots getting thrown out, and I think the big thing about this, CTL6, you can already see it, they're going to be forced to cede the wave a little bit. They don't really have the best pressure towards it, and so they are going to be the ones on the back foot early on. Can be the ball in their court to be able to find the engages, prevent their tower from getting chipped down too much.
Yeah, and I think the health Shroud signs are also going to be very important of who can take control of that one right in the middle here. Seems like right now, the Freedom Fighters are going to be pushing very heavily to start things off. And so maybe for CTL, they're looking, I think, probably for all their champions to hit level 6 first, because that's when they are able to fight the best. And right now it's just throwing out little spells, trying to poke them down. So when they do hit their ultimates, they do get that power spike, they can really do a lot of damage and pick up that first kill.
Yeah, and you can see as well, Zigify playing for these Qs. I think that's going to be the go button, right? Try to Q onto a minion, land an auto attack, or other way around, pull somebody back in, isolate them down, get the one shot. But Graves, I mean, it's just a lot of respect being paid so far, these teams. Like, I mean, there is, again, bragging rights, prizing on the line, and even though it is a best of 3, you do not want to be the one to make that big mistake that opens up the floodgate.
There we go, another big wave getting targeted in here. I will say, right now,
A lot of damage.
Freedom Fighters do not have a ton of tools to hard engage onto their enemy opponents, so it's only going to be a lot of poke for now. And there comes Zigify. Now April going to go really aggressive, but with the minions under the turret, has enough opportunity to dash back away and just do a bunch of poke damage onto the enemy team.
Freedom Fighters just landing so much poke. And I mean, Kemsa on this Azir, having the lethal tempo. This is going to be a Azir focused on scaling into the later game fights. You talk about hitting those power spikes early. Building towards the Leandries, it does seem to start off with the Haunting Guys, but I would expect that Nashor's Tooth to come through as well later on. And I mean, look, Zigify does have a lot of healing. He's playing the Zac, but you got to remember, it is ARAM. Healing is reduced in this mode. Zac, in particular, one of the champions that does have the stat nerfs.
Yeah, and also, because it's Howling Abyss, players cannot go back to base unless they end up dying in a fight. So if you're low, probably want to go and pick up some items soon. Here comes the first engage. April going to go down. That is first blood to CTL6. They find a beautiful engage, and they don't even have to burn any of their ultimates.
Yeah, Grapes, it was just before the level 6 they're able to make it happen. CTL6 finding a bit of punish. I mean, April, he's been dancing on the edge so far. Eventually, the edge has to push back, and fortunately, finding the boundary, but nicely done, CTL6. And now Zigify getting some of that brush control. Kemsa though finds 2 with the Emperor's Divide as April follows it up. But a massive Fate Sealed is even better as Out of the Pancake finds 2 of his own. It's a double so far as April is forced to run for the hills. He might even drop as the Yone is going in. April does trade one back.
Hold on.
But he is not going to be long for this world with the Elastic Slingshot finding the ace for CTL6.
Wow, it's 4-1 for our underdogs, and it starts here, of course, with the Emperor's Divide into the Last Breath combo. We thought that would have been enough, and we're going to continue to fight again. Porphyrin coming back to base with those upgraded items and getting a kill onto Gaming Nerd. And so that is the the problem of getting those fights, winning them early. When your opponents come back to base, they're going to be able to have way more items than you.
I mean, dare I say, Out of the Pancake actually dying in that fight, like, good death. You know, he's able to get the money spent for those 3 kills. He has a full Kraken Slayer, the only person on the murder bridge, or rather Gaming Nerd as well. They both have full completed items after those deaths. I think you take those. Zigify, though, he is up pretty far. Passive going to be procced, and I don't think there's a defense to come through here for CTL6. Those blobs getting burned down. One more Out of the Pancake trying to buy space. He does find the double knockup. April does eventually take down Zigify, but he is so low. Lots of health traded back to do it.
Very cool stuff right now. It's 4-3. Final Freedom Fighters getting some kills back right now. This is going to be a close one, maybe closer than we expected here, Hawk. As again, that big power spike over to Out of the Pancake, 3-1-1.
Yeah.
And now April pretty low, so they're gonna have to try to regenerate some health unless another fight already starts.
Already, and he's just gonna drop Zigify, able to create the space and take him down. And Graves, I mean, could we ask for anything else at this point? 5-3, and the Wind Edgelords, everybody's favorite. They've got 5 of the 8 kills just between the 2 of them. I mean, that's what we want, you know, the cool, dashy, edgy sword guys having the gold, making the big plays.
CTL6 still in decent control right now. Porphyrin gonna go in, but look at the other side. That's a nice ultimate combo. Out of the Pancake has to flash away. Fate Seal coming back out, and April gonna pick up the first kill onto Gaming Nerd. Zigify so tanky on the backline, surviving in a 1v2 for now. Elastic Slingshot does not connect, and on the backside another one falls. It's an ace picked up here for the Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, and just brilliant recognition here from Kemsa. Out of the Pancake uses the E to go forward, and once Zigify is out of the fight in the front line, they immediately go on to the most fed member, take down the aforementioned Edgelord, and with Gaming Nerd dropping as well, I mean, just simply no way to win this fight. I do think the Zac could be such a good okay, as they're probably dying to get their base off, so Freedom Fighters trading that one back for a little bit of HP and to spend that money, but you know, as I was saying, Grapes, the Zac, I think, is a huge problem because of how much space it can create and how long it can stay alive. But there is a lot of sustain and DPS on the side of Freedom Fighters to both burn down the Zac and sustain through his minimal damage. So, you know, if he's the only one in the fight, I don't think he's going to be winning any of them.
You saw right there, Gaming Nerd, she tried to go back to base with like an execute, trying to dive, but actually did give the kill over to Popularling. Instead, out of the Pancake, used that E, the tether had to come back, and so April going to pick up a kill with that numbers advantage going towards the Freedom Fighters. They once again find control. We saw in the pip during the replay that they picked up the first tower of the game as well, so all the control right now in their hands.
Yeah, and they're going to have first move out onto this tower as well. Maybe he can get a little bit of damage down Zigify. Way to try to defend a little bit, but he has got no passive and he's got no life, Grapes. April now in on the Gaming Nerd as Adam the Pancake has come back. Did April go too far forward? I think the answer is going to be yes. Traded 1 for 1.
Now, can CTL6 go back on the offensive? Not just yet! A big Shurima shuffle coming out from Kemsa. And that is Gaming Nerd going it down once more. It's a 2v1 with Adam the Pancake here to try to defend the second tower. Does have the ultimate now. Fate Steel coming out. They will find the kill onto the Azir. And here comes Zigify as well. Bouncing around on the Popperling. And the final Steel Tempest makes sure that Adam does not fall.
I mean, Grapes, at the very least, the gold completely even in this game. Not too much separating these teams other than a little bit of map pressure going the way of Freedom Fighters. But CTL, I mean, they will definitely be able to fight back. And out of the Pancake, richest member in the game, Grapes, we asked the question, would the ping affect him too much? I think the answer so far, definitely a no. He is having a good game one for himself.
Yeah, the EU ping not mattering too much just yet, as he did try to go in for the execute again, was punished for it, and now Freedom Fighters have an opportunity to come right back. Scatter the Weak does not connect from Gaming Nerd, and she will go down to Kemsa. Zigify still very tanky on the front line. Use that health shrine to regenerate just a little bit. Popperling going super aggressive under the tower.
Ooh, nice
if they get
dodge.
controlled, things suddenly become a bit fishy, but it will not happen. Another ace picked up for the Freedom Fighters.
Really nice dodge from Popperling to not get hit by the elastic slingshot that I think would have spelled their demise. Ultimately able to get away from it. And Grapes, we've seen a couple of the, unlucky attempts at executes, as you said, right? And underrated aspect of Leandri's in ARAM. It essentially adds a whole 3 seconds to the execute timer with the burn that can come through, and that can mean a lot in these kind of games. We've seen Kemsa pick up a couple from that. Zigify, though, is going to be back up on the map. It is a lead to Freedom Fighters, but not anything crazy substantial. A lot of magic resist built up by the Zac. He's going to be very difficult to take down, and we already know how strong this Yone can be.
Another very crucial item, the Guardian's Horn. It does a ton of healing, especially in these ARAM situations where there's a ton of fighting. And so, in terms of keeping the Zac alive and the rest of the team, doing a really good job. So, I expect the Spirit Visage coming in next. I think Zigify going to become harder and harder for the Freedom Fighters to try to take down.
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit of armor. There is still Yasuo on the other side, but as long as that does come through at some point, I mean, it is definitely minimizing the damage that this Azir can do, and you can see the respect being paid towards that Yone. As Freedom Fighters, they're the ones kiting back. Popperling goes wide with the Fate Sealed, and it's just going to be a death for him. Azir Tower, though, means that the dive cannot continue for CTL6 at the moment.
So it's just going to be a 2v3. However, the pressure with the Azir turret is actually buying a lot of space for the Freedom Fighters. The CTL6 squad can't really go in because they have that structure there at their defense. With now it falling, perhaps an engage can come in. Adam the Pancake has the summoner spells and the ultimate available. Zigify gonna dash in as well. April gonna dodge away from the initial Q, pops the wind wall, and it's gonna take down Adam the Pancake. Wind Brother down. It will be a trade as April also falls. Gaming Nerd coming in, gonna get the snowball on top of her. Kemsa maybe went a little bit too far forward. There's the shutdown, and now it's Popperling's responsibility to fight this out in a 1v2, but they're not going to be able to. Another fight won by CTL6, and the kills are still even 11 minutes into this game, Hawk.
Doing a good job defending. Out of the Pancake, it was an unlucky death as he tried to channel the Fate Sealed. Popperling, though, in the 1v2. He's tanky on the Silas. A lot of healing, but still forced to flash away. Gaming Nerd, at this point, starting to do some good damage on the Syndra. They did hit their 80 Syndra dollars, getting the Empowered Scatter the Weak. You can see it coming through onto April right there as Zigify wants to continue forward. Taking a lot of damage from this Yasuo, but Adam the Pancake already back up. First Wind Brother will secure a kill, but it's only onto the Zac passive. Sigify trying to come back up, but out of the pancake, carrying very hard. Pop Reling not able to take him down. Lethal tempo stacks. Kemsa with his own lethal tempo. He's going to trade it back, but Sigify's not done.
Oh.
He's in onto him. He needs the blob to get the healing. All that magic resist, meaning he's got the tankiness, and the unleashed power from Gaming Nerd secures the ace.
What a fight from CTL6. That's an ace picked up against the Freedom Fighters. They finally will get an opportunity to hit onto this turret. April respawning in about 5 seconds, and so we'll be able to take the Hex Gate back in. But I think the tower might go down before that. April gonna go in, but that is again the first tower secured. Now April is in a bit of a bad spot. Gaming Nerd picks up the execute, and Zigify will go down as well. It takes a while for them to fall because of all the healing with the Zac blobs, but it will be another couple of kills, but the tower going over in response.
Calculated from April right there. Look, I've seen way too many of my teammates in ARAM take the portal as the tower's dying and just completely, you know, we've all been there, right? Where you just give up your life, you weren't paying attention, not looking at the minimap, and you're like, oh, my bad. But, I mean, Graves CTL6 has more or less equalized this game. They're even up a little bit of gold. There's a Seeker's Arm Guard coming through for Gaming Nerd to get some of that extra safety out of the pancake, building towards the wit's end, it seems, here on the Yone. I mean, our favorites, Freedom Fighters, they may be pushing up right now, but this game has been very close so far.
33 kills in 13 minutes. This is why I love Howling Abyss. Even in a 3v3, there are still so many kills happening on either side, and honestly everybody pretty fed at this point. Level 16 on Pop Reling, highest one in the game, has the Lich Bane for some extra damage as well. Again, the problem is not a lot of hard engage other than that Shurima Shuffle for the Freedom Fighters, so they have to wait for CTL6 to pull the trigger. Now Pop Reling giving another angle with that stolen away Fate Sealed. And with the Azir Tower, it's going to be that same game of waiting around, trying to do a little bit of chip damage on this inhibitor turret until somebody decides to go in.
You know, and there may be no hard engage on the side of Freedom Fighters, but that Azir Tower denying any prospect from Zigify to be able to go in. They do find damage on the Kemsa as I say that, though, but the ultimate going to come out. Fate Sealed stolen away from Pop Reling. And this level 16 Silas, such a strong power spike. He's just doing so much damage with that ulti. Ability to steal multiple in a fight does mean that Zigify drops in the end.
Just that one kill. Zigify, we'll say, still takes a long time to go down, but that's the problem with having the Azir turret right there. The stun disc after Zigify engages makes it so difficult for Adam and Gaming Nerd to follow up. Now in a 2v3, they're looking for the fight. A two-man Fate Sealed in the backline though, but Adam will still fall. It's a 1v3 as Gaming Nerd picks up one onto the tower for a second. Will this be the triple kill? Scattered lands onto April. She goes in as well. One more tower shot would do it. Can April dodge away? Gaming Nerd trying to land as many of those spells as possible, and April will be able to escape, but such a phenomenal defense under the inhibitor tower will allow for CTL6 to stay alive. Zigify coming in. It will finally be the ace. Picked up an unofficial triple kill for Gaming Nerd.
Yeah, and Gaming Nerd hitting that maximum Syndra power spike as well. 15% bonus AP, take it to the bank. What a fight as Adam the Pancake found the Fate Sealed to clean them up and group them away from Gaming Nerd while they're in stasis. And then the carry coming through from Syndra, flash dodging out on multiple spells. Now CTL6 full control over the bridge. They're pushing forward. Zigify does get chunked down, but again, still building magic because there's no armor needed. This Zac going to be so tanky. Adam the Pancake now diving forward. You can see Freedom Fighters, they are on the back foot.
Maybe the composition for CTL6 just looks a little bit stronger in this case. It is pretty difficult for either side to siege, and so that is why we still only have one tower taken down on each end. Freedom Fighters, after they have fallen, all have the opportunity to respawn and pick up a couple of more items. CTL6 did not have that luxury specifically for Gaming Nerd on that Syndra, so this is a good opportunity for them to go in and try to win another fight, get some more chip damage onto this inhibitor tower. But you're seeing the healing right now on Zigify. It is so hard to take this Zac down.
Yeah, I mean, he is quite tanky. I'm questioning the full MR build, but I mean, April not really able to do that meaningful of damage. I feel like, as I say that, of course, taking down the kill onto the Zac, and now they've found Gaming Nerd. No stasis to be found. Out of the Pancake alone under the tower, but no Fate Sealed means no way out. That is a really easy ace from Freedom Fighters, and hold the phone, Graves. Still 30 seconds on the death timers. They might be able to end.
Wow, I thought it was so close. I thought CTL6 had an opportunity to turn it around, but now they're already on to the Nexus turrets. It is 15 seconds on Zigify. That is not nearly enough time. 16.5 minutes, 41 kills, and it is the Freedom Fighters taking our first game of the semifinals.
In seemingly 16 of those minutes, so competitive, CTL6 putting up a brilliant defense throughout the game, but it was Freedom Fighters. They were the ones with the push, and they find the ace not at their own tower, but at the enemy tower, meaning the push was able to come through immediately.
Okay, I've really been a big fan of this format so far, and just the strategies and what pushing and having the waves in specific spots will mean. I mean, if that fight was happening on the other side of the map,
they don't
been able to end the game. And so, you know, getting champions with Prio, with wave clear, are going to become more important. And it was just that one fight, but a very well played fight by the Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, you can see the power of the skirmish comp, right? It's not all about the team fight, it's not all about the scaling, but everybody having individual agency, the ability to make the outplay. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it looked a little goofy though, right? But in the end, they were able to get it done with the triple carry threat. And I do think, you know, part of the reason they were able to get all that prio is because something like the Zac doesn't feel safe walking forward at all times into that composition. The Syndra alone, not enough to get it done. But CTL6, I mean, putting up a very valiant effort against Freedom Fighters, and that was just the first game, Grapes. It would not surprise me if they're able to send us to a decider, Game 3.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, it'll be Game 2 between these two squads. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Michael Bellato. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I've been in Germany since July 4th, 1990, so going on 33 years. I came as a dependent with my mother. She was active duty. I've worked with Force Support Squadron for 23 years now. Love what I do. I am the Deputy Chief of the Community Services Flight. What I do is put on all the big events on this installation, the Freedom Fest, the bazaars, the concerts. And actually, this is the first time putting on an esports event, so pretty excited. Working with the team has been very new to me, but it's been amazing. We've had a great time, great communication. I would say probably one of the funnest events we've had so far. Kind of excited to see what the crowd's gonna look like. Again, this is new to the base, new to us. Just kind of excited to be here. The difference is the big events that I normally put on, we have thousands, 25, 30,000 people here enjoying an event with fireworks or music and stuff. This is in a smaller location, but the difference is that it's online. So people get to join us and interact online instead of being here with us in the location.
It is so great to be here. First ever Allied Forces Esports Invitational. Teams from US, from UK coming together to play some Rocket League.
I think what this is going to do is this is going to bring a lot of people out of the dorms and out of their houses and bring a new experience to the installation that we haven't had. Brings them an awareness. And I wasn't even aware of all the great things that the Esports Center provides. It's going to be very exciting to see what they bring. I do know our leadership is aware of this event and they're really excited. They wanted a lot of information. Hopefully it brings joy to our leadership too, which will also bring joy to our airmen and our Space Force. People that do play games, they're very familiar, but everybody that doesn't play games online, like myself, I don't really play a lot. I wasn't aware of all of this, so I hope that people's supervisors and leaders and everybody encourage their people that want to play to reach out to the Air Force Services Agency or Center and get them involved with esports, and hopefully they can join the team and be in this tournament too next year or the year after. They get to travel across the world, they get to meet amazing people. Basically, they get a free trip somewhere to a location they've probably never been and get to play a game that they really enjoy and again, meet amazing people. I mean, this is a great crew, a great time. They're here for a week. Anybody that was on this team or will be on this team would really enjoy what they get to see and be a part of. Like I said, I'm not really a big gamer, but I do play games sometimes. My brother lives in the United States and he's active duty. He's a pilot, so he really doesn't have a lot of time. But so when he does have time, we meet online, we get to talk and we interact on the Call of Duty platform. So it's fun, but for me, it's more of that bonding with my family, the time that we really don't get. Because when you're on the phone, you're not gonna talk that long, but online, you could play a couple hours and not even know that time flew by. When you play and you get to meet your friends or people that you haven't stayed in touch with. So I stay in touch with my friend Steve Sarandos and other friends. I think looking at a big picture, worldwide, everybody that connects and they get to build that bond in with their friendship and their families, even though they're so far apart, but they're still so connected just through a game. And it's life-changing.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Department of the Air Force Gaming League of Legends Tournament semifinals. We've got game number 2 coming up between the Freedom Fighters and CTL6. I am Grapes, joined alongside Hawk, and we saw the first game have a lot of bloodshed in very close fashion, but it was one fight from the Freedom Fighters that ended up with them taking the win.
Yeah, I mean, Grapes, that game for 16 minutes was a back alley brawl, and then Freedom Fighters won it in 16 and a half. One good fight in front of the enemy tower, all it takes. And clearly, the Freedom Fighters showing that they have what it takes to, I mean, individually outplay their opponents, but not by a lot. CTL6, I want to give that team a lot of credit, because that game was close.
Yeah, I mean, specifically that Zac pick was super interesting to see. I think tanks become very important maybe in this game because of how much damage they're able to soak up. And honestly, like a champion like Zac does a decent amount of base damage, especially in this game mode, where if you're able to go in and land a big combo, that might be enough for the rest of the team to follow up and do a lot of damage in some of those big fights. I mean, we saw Gaming Nerd Syndra have a great play underneath her own turret in that first game as well, picking up the unofficial triple kill. So even though the rank disparity might exist between these two teams, there's still a lot of area for volatility. And I think CTL6, they're feeling that that is possible, especially after how that first game went.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Zac does have a 52% win rate in A-Round Graves. He's number 30 in the mode. A-ranked, according to UGG, because, like, this champion is just so difficult to deal with, right? Even with the nerfs to his healing and some of the damage that he can output, especially in the 3v3 where there's less incoming DPS, but still a similar number of targets to be able to spawn blobs off of, you're just able to survive for so much longer than you normally would be able to in a 5v5 mode. And I mean, it definitely made the champion impressive. I do think the shortcoming of it was that it was not able to actually like step up to waves and really fight when it wanted to. So I think that's the main thing CTL6 would want to look to overcome, is having the ability to actually contest the waves against Freedom Fighters in this game too.
Well, let's get started with the draft. As we see here, the sides have swapped, and so Freedom Fighters will now be on the red side, CTL6 over on blue. However, we're seeing a lot of the bans stay the same. I find it interesting, Hawk, that after the game where Zigify had such a great moment on the Zac, they banned away 2 tanks. They're going to ban away potentially another one. If they ban the Malphite here, that is going to be 3 tanks taken off the board for the Freedom Fighters, but instead it'll be the Hecarim.
Yeah, going for the Hecarim ban, and the Zac obviously targeted based on what we saw last game, but I mean, I think interestingly, leaving the Malphite up, banned away last game. We'll see if they end up going towards it. The Amumu, though, getting locked in. It's another big-time tank with ability to just do a decent amount of damage and have good AoE. And Grapes, we flew through this draft. Double tank with the Senna here on the side of CTL6. Adam the Pancake going to try to be the carry that he was last game with a massive frontline, a damage-dealing frontline ahead of him. And then the Xerath, 262 games played. It's rather 281 games played in Masters for Popryling.
And then you have the Yone and the Kindred as well. I will say, I honestly like CTL6's composition against what Freedom Fighters have. Cassandra and Amumu can eat a lot of the damage that Xerath specifically is able to dish out. And there's not a ton of like high burst potential where the Kindred ult gets a ton of value. And so if CTL6 can play their cards right, you know, have Adam the Pancake be that big carry, I think that they have a good chance against the Freedom Fighters and sending us to that game 3. I think the early game is where we're going to have some worry for them though, Hawk, as Cassandra and Amumu Senna, that's a composition that I think does a lot more once they get a couple of items and once Senna gets a lot of souls. Being that primary damage dealer and having to scale a little bit more, that is where I have a little bit of concern. And so Freedom Fighters early game is where I have my eyes on.
Yeah, I do think my main concerns for CTL6 are just the ability to contest the wave. Just like last game, and in fact, without the Syndra, it's even more diminished. They have to go for the all-ins to get these fights. And Graves, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Cassandra is really my favorite pick in this mode either way. I mean, 135th on the viability rankings, 48% win rate. It's just not really the strongest tank in this mode, and I think having your health to go for that damage is going to be difficult. So I do think in the straight up all-ins, I agree with you. I think CTL6 has a good composition. It has a good idea behind it. But I will say, similar to you, Freedom Fighter's ability to contest that wave, ability to fight early game. Also, even without the good value on the Lamb's Respite, is Kindred being able to dance around in the fights, I think is going to be something that's very difficult to deal with a heavily skill shot-based composition.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, actually, in the fact that in this game mode, Cassante doesn't have any walls to ult over, and that is where the all-out gets a ton of value, isolating some targets and also getting some extra damage with the R button getting pressed over a wall. And so we'll see how that interaction ends up working. The Amumu, I think, works very well in this comp, and so I'm super excited to see how the interactions happen. We're on to the Rift. We see all of our players getting ready to hop onto the Abyss for game number 2 of our semifinals. Once again, a lot of prizing on the line here, a spot in the grand finals later today. Let's get into it with game number 2.
And it's going to be an exciting one. The double tanks of Mumu, definitely a strong champion in ARAM, no doubts about that. So we know they want to get something going. But of course, pop relaying on the one trick Xerath. April on the Kindred and already getting started early. Zigafy forced to flash away. April does clean up the kill and gets the first mark out of the pancake. Loses vision, but the snowball downtown from Gaming Nerd to secure it. And Grapes, this is what the ARAM's all about. 45 seconds in, kills traded either way. Kemsa wanting to try to get one on Adam Pancake. Does take a tower shot though, and I think they'll pay their life for it. One more slow from Gaming Nerd would be enough, and it does come through. Pop relaying though with the snipe, the Triumph, and now the Yone is alive. They're in onto Zigafy as Gaming Nerd is going to drop just when it looked like CTL6 would be winning the fight. They're going to lose out on 4 kills, and Kemsa with the Q3 survives.
Wow, 5 kills in the first minute and 15 seconds, and it's the Freedom Fighters getting a ton of that gold. What a fight it was from them. Kemsa kiting really well with the Soul Unbound on the Yone. And, you know, Zigafy had a good amount of engage. Out of the Pancake, though, just doesn't have the damage. Remember, the early game is where this team is going to struggle a little bit more. They're going to go in again, this time with maybe some items under their
big
belt.
W!
Look at the W! The Pathmaker from Gaming Nerd finds all 3 members of the Freedom Fighters, and they get 2 kills right back.
Yeah, nicely done from Gaming Nerd to be able to equalize the sequence somewhat. Massive Pathmaker right there, and it's going to give Adam the Pancake plenty of souls to stack up. We'll definitely have to keep you guys updated on how that Senna stacking is doing, because I think it's going to be a huge part of this game. And as we saw, you know, in that previous fight as well, Grapes, I think the biggest thing for CTL6's composition is they have to combo their CC lockdown onto one person and be able to take them out.
One at a time. That's going to be the name of the game, especially against the Freedom Fighters, who are pretty squishy. And so if you do land all your combo, even this early in the game, you should be able to find a couple of kills. We'll say that might become a little bit harder as the Freedom Fighters are approaching level 6. Once that Lamb's Respite from April does come out, could mean that more blood could be shed in favor of the Freedom Fighters. The Intoppo Strikes goes wide. April's still pretty low, and so that, I think, is the primary target, especially because might not have enough mana to hit that level 6 mark.
It's done though, landing onto the Senna. Out of the Pancake, going to be taken down first. April is going to be traded. Zigafy very low on the front line as it's level 6 for Kemsa. Massive 2-man fate sealed as the all-out pulls him back. It's a shutdown onto the Amumu as the Cassante dies. Ace going over to Freedom Fighters yet again.
Again, Kemsa just doing so much in these fights. The 2-man Fate Shield. We'll see if Adam can fight this out 1v2 to try to save the turret.
They're diving him.
Soul Unbound. Stun lands as well. Out of the Pancake is just dead. But the Curse of the Sad Mummy lands on the pop reeling. Did not tank turret aggro, and so does not take any tower shots here. Lamb's Respite comes out. Pathfinder once again finds 3. Gaming Nerd going to try to dish out enough damage, but as the tank Cassante just won't be able to do it. Freedom Fighters surviving yet again as the snipe from downtown of pop reeling secures yet another ace.
Oh, and this is starting to get brutal, Graves. CTL6 trying to do anything to defend their tier 1 tower, but their Senna's never alive at the same time as another dive comes through, and somehow Freedom Fighters surviving through everything. 11-4 is the kill score. First tower dropping. The Freedom Fighters want to clean this up with a sweep.
Again, we said the early game is where CTL6 is going to struggle, and against a some very high-ranked opponents, this could be, it becomes very difficult for the early game to be played, and then you're in a state where maybe the scaling won't be able to happen. However, this is their opportunity to fight right back. That is 2 kills already as Zigify jumps in to take April down. An ace in response. And now the question is, how much gold are Freedom Fighters going to be able to pick up, and how much pushing power does CTL6 have after the ace?
To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be a lot. I don't think they can get the tier 1 tower grave. Still going to be on the back foot is CTL6. They need to win a couple of fights back-to-back. Out of the Pancake, at least hitting that first spike, but prop relaying on the Xerath. The one trick, you can see how much damage those Arcano pulses are doing early on. Popping the ultimate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of the Pancake, take it so low. Snowball going to land. Kemsa finding the knockup. The snap back will do it. April picks up the kill, and Zigify next on the menu. That's a double to the Kindred.
And both of those players just melt to April right now. I wonder how many stacks the Kindred actually has in this game. If our team can give us a little check on that. Already has the Kraken Slayer, and it might be a 3rd member fallen. Nice use of the Fate Shield by Kemsa, and Freedom Fighters are going in onto the inhibitor turret.
And 3 stacks for April. Next one going to give the extra range. A 2nd tower dropping. I mean, ideally, look, in ARAM, you want to trade. Oh, no. Another stun landing out of the Pancake on the Senna. Just getting picked on by Pop Reeling. The Xerath able to do work from so far away. It looks like the gambit of leaving this pick up not working out. And Grapes, that's what I was going to say is, you know, the thing in ARAM is just you got to be able to trade. At some point, your towers are going to fall. At some point, you're going to give things up. But you want to be able to come right back and then steal it from the enemy team in response. When you go down 2 towers, that's when you start needing to win fights back to back to back, stringing those victories together, and it looks so incredibly difficult.
Oh, April's so low. Out of the Pancake doesn't have the Dawning Shadow, though, so they'll be able to go right back to the Health Shrine, get a little bit more HP in their pockets, and then come back for another re-engage. Zigify, very low right now. They don't have the ultimate anymore, and so this is a very useless Amumu. Might just go down to the right of the Arcane. The 2nd shot from Pop Reeling takes him down. And now it's a 2v3. Only the Nexus Towers stand in the way of a trip to the Grand Finals for the Freedom Fighters, and they're gonna get it. It's a double kill in now for Pop Reeling, as it's only Adam the Pancake left to defend.
Yeah, only 6.5 minutes into the game, the first Nexus Tower will drop. Lamb's Respite is forced to be popped as Pop Reeling. He does give up his life under the tower, and now here comes the chase. The game, at least, will not end yet, more than likely, as Kemsa, though, does trade flashes with Out of the Pancake. And Zigify, he's dying. April's traded another double.
Now it's a 1v2. Only one Nexus Tower left to try and save the game for CTL6. Remember, the scaling is what they were looking for. There comes the all-out. Snowball doesn't connect. Kemsa, and April doing so much to zone, and they get the kill once again. They're on to the enemy Nexus. This could be a speed run of a game here. 20-8 now the score in terms of kills. 2-minute Fate Shield will make Kemsa go down, and now April has to run away. Here comes the re-engage, though. Pop Reeling looking to try and turn this around. April still kiting. Zigify looking for the kill. The bandage toss not connecting, but will finally get the shutdown. Pop Reeling will have enough damage to make it a trade, but CTL6 going to stay in this game.
At least for now, but 5,000 gold is the difference with only an exposed Nexus standing between them and total defeat. CTL6 backs against the wall as the right of the Arcane. 3 straight shots coming through from Pop Reeling. Man, what a game on the Xerath Forum, as well as the rest of the team making plays happen. 2 completed items now over to April as they have respawned. I would have to think 4 marks in the back pocket as well. Wanted to wrap this one up in 8 minutes. It is a flash forward. Zigify at least getting one back.
Zigify is now very strong. 6 kills on the Amumu. Will have to run away now as here comes Kemsa landing a 2-man Steel Tempest. That is one going down as April picks it up. On it with the Nexus now. It'll be up to Out of the Pancake to try to save the game. There are still super minions pushing in, but Freedom Fighters don't care about the kills just yet. They want to pick up at least one of the Gaming Nerd. The Nexus will still be hit up. They go into the fountain. April gets the ace, and that is it. Freedom Fighters making their way to the finals 2-0 over CTL6.
Yeah, Freedom Fighters maybe looking this game to look like the expected result because, man, what a way to win. Clearly, you did not want to give Popperling their Xerath, but the rest of the team, I mean, everybody stepping up. And, I mean, CTL6, credit to them for the fight that they put up in Game 1, but clearly, Freedom Fighters, they had that one under control and deservedly moving on to the Grand Finals.
Yeah, there was a reason that this team was the final favorite for this group of 4 that we have here in the League of Legends division of the Air Force Gaming League. And we saw it right there. Not only did they have a ton of synergy together, but the individual play was pristine. They were able to kite away from a lot of those players. And hey, CTL6 had a good strategy. They thought to themselves, if we were able to survive the early game, make sure that like we're able to get a couple of items, that is when our composition will truly be able to go online. But they unfortunately never got to that point because of how good the pressure was from the Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, I mean, they were firing on all cylinders. CTL6, unfortunately, their run ends here. Still, they're going to get some of the swag, as we saw from the prizing before, and it was great to have the players here on the show. But Freedom Fighters moving on to the Grand Finals, and Graves, we've got to figure out, well, at least in a little bit, who their opponent will be. But before that, I believe we have a bit of a winner's interview.
Yeah, we're going to head to a short break right now, and when we come back, we'll be talking to one of the players on the Freedom Fighters to celebrate their win and talk about what they think about making it to the finals. We'll see you in a bit. Hello everybody, we are here with our post-game interview with Shiro or April after their 2-0 win over CTL6 as they advance to the grand finals of the Air Force Gaming League's League of Legends division. Shiro, let's start talking about the game a little bit here because that first game was so close until the very end. Did you feel like for game number 2, you guys had to try a little bit harder to make sure you didn't have to go to a game 3?
Absolutely. The first game was kind of a little bit unexpected. We went with a plan to get the Yasuo Yone, and they kind of just took that from us. So we were a little bit lost, as well as the Zac pick that they had. Definitely had to make some adjustments in game 2, which went pretty good.
Interesting. Well, I mean, clearly adjustments were made because game 2 was what, like 8 minutes long. Y'all absolutely rolled through it, and I want to look a little bit ahead to the finals as well. Of course, we're about to find out who your opponent is, but how confident are you guys that you can take home the AFG coin and win it all?
I think we're pretty confident. We've played against all of these people before. I think me and my team are feeling pretty confident against them again.
All right, great. And you know, about your teammates again a little bit. I know you guys are all serving in the Air Force right now and being a part of this gaming league together. What has the camaraderie been like, just being able to bond with some of these players and put on, you know, some really good performances in the tournament?
I think as we played together a lot more since the first time we started playing together, we've definitely bonded a little bit, got more synergy together, and I've played in person with one of my players on my team, so there's that as well.
That's awesome. That's really awesome to hear, and that you and your teammates have that bond and everything. Well, I mean, Shiro, congratulations on the semifinal win. I mean, I'm personally very much looking forward to seeing you a little bit later today in the grand finals, and we've got to find out who your opponent's going to be. So from us here on the desk, we're going to throw it to, I believe, another quick break. But when we return, we'll be back with the second semifinal match. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to the Allied Forces Esports Invitational, where our aim is to bring gaming and esports inside a military capacity to prove all of the benefits it has for all of our teams and our players. Without further ado, you folks can go ahead and take to your seats. Best of luck to both of our teams. Give it up for them. Thank you very much.
Without any further ado, gentlemen, the honor is all yours.
He was flying in, now the upfield pass to Ethan on target, and DAF Alpha take the opener. They want to show to the rest of the teams in this tournament that they are the top of the pile.
Unless we see something drastically different from Royal Air Force, it's going to be heading the same way as that DAF Alpha series. It's a reverse sweep in our second match of the day, but the Royal Air Force stay alive in the hunt for the grand final.
H3 now moving the ball back, not first to the ball, but look where Eagle.
Bang!
Versus 3.
DAF Alpha sometimes just let that one go by, but they won't let anything go by this time.
Watch out other teams, because they are revving into life. Gotta say, the British Army have blown out the traps. Jordan, and that's on for skids. He starts this move. He baits out KS9. Stelios, that's a fantastic direct pass.
He over the top of everyone from the Royal Navy, and he's still got enough boost to make the shot and tie the game. The Royal Air Force soar high and potentially into the grand final. This is what it's all been for all of yesterday, leading up to these next 2 series. Now the time ticking low for DAF Bravo. McWar Eagle looking for the double tap. He'll lay it over to William off the bar, and William squares it away.
Trying to make British Army guess, oh, and this is open. This is way too
That's
open.
it.
Plum takes the goal. DAF Bravo take place number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, and my dear caster friends, Alpha versus Royal Air Force, US versus UK.
The best player, mechanically speaking, of the tournament is on the field, and he's going to be the man to open up the scoring in the grand finals. Bumped out the way, but here's H3. Oh, from 1 to 1. It's Route 1 Rocket League, or is it Route 66? Because we're feeling pretty American here.
He puts one on the board. But Stelios, the first goal for the Royal Air Force. They have a chance.
He finds the ball. big goal again, 2-2. Low-Tech meets him in the middle. P far post, touch it! Oh, he shuttles it through, and it's the man of the moment. It's the Brutus. It's H3. It's that Alpha with a sweep in the grand final.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Department of the Air Force Gaming League semifinals here for our League of Legends division. A reminder, we have some more games happening tomorrow. I think we got some Street Fighter 6, some other FGCs happening, so make sure you stay tuned to this channel just in another day so you can continue to watch some more service members of our Air Force continue to compete in some games for some awesome prizes. My name is Graves. I'm joined alongside Hawk, and we are here for our second semifinal of the day. We can take a look at our bracket after we just saw the Freedom Fighters take their first win and move on to the grand finals.
Yeah, as we just saw, Freedom Fighters, a big victory for them. 2-0 over CTL6, and now awaiting their opponent in the grand finals. And it is going to be decided now between these last couple teams. Grapes, I mean, what a matchup it is expected to be.
Yeah, B1 Zone is a great team that you know is full of players that are actually all from the same Air Force base. So they are all homies. They decided to go play together because they just really love playing League of Legends together. They made it all the way to the semifinals. They have a chance to make it all the way to the grand finals right now. And they'll be facing off against the Pillarmen. Again, a lot of swag on the line here and bragging rights against your fellow Air Force service members. And so I'm super excited to see how this game goes.
Yeah, I as well. I think, you know, clearly both these teams going to have their work cut out for them when they make it to the finals. But I mean, if the game one of the last the last match was anything to go off of, then these teams have a lot more parity than maybe we have been expecting, and anything can happen in these 3v3 ARAMs. Graves, you take another look at the prizing now on the screen. As you mentioned, swag on the line, the challenge coin on the line, bragging rights, I'm sure, something that is on the line between these players as well.
Of course, we already saw the Freedom Fighters get the win, which means that they now have access to that custom AFG jersey. I think that's going to be a super cool prize for whoever ends up taking this one as well. And of course, every player who wins this tournament will get that exclusive Spring 2024 challenge coin. I know talking to some players here in some of the interviews we did, that is something that they're looking forward to trying and earn. And so that is going to be pretty exciting, and we'll see who ends up getting it between our two teams here. We have the rosters, I believe, to show for our matchup between B1 Zone and Pillarmen. As we see, all the members of B1 Zone work in the same department and all are in Ellsworth Air Force Base. And so you have a little bit of that extra synergy combined with, of course, some pretty solid League of Legends play so far.
Yeah, Majestic Penguin, Zero, and Mr. Priest up against Colora, Boiled Grass, and Celivant. I mean, Grapes, I'm very excited to watch these two teams go up against each other. It is our 1 seed versus our 4 seed coming in. However, you know, interestingly enough, B1 Zone actually a bit closer in terms of average rank to their opponents.
Yeah, and once again, there's on both of these teams before their matchup today. Let's start off with B1 Zone, where I got a chance to sit down with Majestic Penguin about his thoughts on the tournament as a whole. Hello everybody, I'm here with Joel, or Majestic Penguin, here, a player on B1 Zone competing in the semifinals of the DAFGL tournament today. Majestic Penguin, how are you doing today?
Doing well, I'm excited to be here.
Now, I know that you and the rest of your teammates all come from the same base and all work together in some capacity in the Air Force. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities are in the Air Force and how you guys ended up coming to meet and playing games together?
We are both, or all three of us are B1B crew chiefs. We all came to Ellsworth, or 2 of us came to Ellsworth about 5 years ago and have been there working with each other since. And then one of us, Zero, just joined us, I'd say about 2, maybe 3 years ago now. So we've all been working together for the past couple of years and have pretty good camaraderie. And we joined this on a whim, actually.
Oh, really? So what was the process like? So you just played some games together and you saw this tournament's available, so you're like, hey, let's join.
Yeah, I came into work one day and I saw it up on the like portal banner that they had a tournament going on, and I knew that me and my couple buddies played. and I was like, hey, we should just join this and see what it's about.
Okay, now all the way into the semifinals. So congratulations on that. What's it been like being a part of the Air Force Gaming League and having this community of people who are both in the Air Force and serving the nation, but also being a part of another smaller community of people who really love video games?
It's a really nice community. I have not been a part of it for a very long time. This is the second time I've played in a tournament of any capacity, and I've enjoyed it and met a couple of really good people along the way. So.
All right, well, Joel, thanks so much for talking. And last question before we let you go. What are your thoughts about what the semifinals could potentially look like today?
All I'm going to say is that pressure makes diamonds, and we love pressure.
All right, Joel, thank you so much, and best of luck today.
See you guys.
Thank you very much to Majestic Penguin for talking to us a little bit about how the squad ended up coming together. I mean, we all have that experience, Hawk, right? Where you meet some of your friends, you meet some people that you're working with. You realize you all play some video games, and then you just decide to game. And then these guys able to make it all the way to the semifinals of this tournament.
Yeah, great. It's funny. It reminds me of like all the semi-pro leagues that we cover, right? Where sometimes it's just friends coming together, deciding to play and vying for that competition. And sometimes that's all it takes. So it's great to see that these guys coming together in that exact same way.
And on the other side here, Hawk, you got a chance to speak to Boiled Grass, who of course is playing on the Pillarman team. Let's see what he had to say.
Hello, and I am joined by Boiled Grass from the Pillar Men. And Boiled Grass, I gotta ask you, how excited are you to be playing a 3v3 competitive tournament against your fellow men today?
Man, I'm super stoked. We've been having a lot of fun so far, and I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it seems like an amazing program, and I want to ask you a little bit more about how you feel about the community that's been built through Air Force Gaming with this program.
You know, haven't done anything previously, but in my shop where I work, we've had a lot of people that have done a lot of stuff, and it seemed they've all had a really good time playing Smash, playing Street Fighter. Now I'm playing League of Legends, and like my shop's like, hey, we want to see you play too. Like, so, you know, it's really exciting for all of us. Like the people that care, you know, like we're really getting into it, and it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. It's always fun having something to care about. The last main question I have for you, I mean, you're going to win today? How are we feeling?
You know, there's a lot of really, really good people in this match, and I'm not saying that we can't win, but we're going to give it everything we got, and we're not just going to give them a win for nothing.
Awesome. Looking forward to watching the matches, and we'll send it back to the show.
Thank you very much to Boiled Grass. We talked about how, of course, on B1 Zone, all of those guys are B1B crew chiefs over at the Ellsworth Air Force Base. But for Boiled Grass and the Pillarmen, they also all come from the same place. They're all in the Space Force over at Shrivers. So that is going to be a really fun thing to keep in mind, that these are some really great communities of players that find just the opportunity to play each other and now have an opportunity to match up against each other for a spot in the Grand Finals.
Yeah, a lot of smart and well-equipped guys going up against each other in this matchup, Graves, I think is what it all boils down to. B1 Zone up against Pillarmen. We can get started with the draft, and we'll see whose big brains can come out on top in the semifinal, Graves.
Now, we do see that B1 Zone is on blue side, and it was interesting to see that both teams chose blue side in the last series that we ended up playing. And I think the big thing that, especially for B1 Zone, that I was able to talk to them about is that they think that scaling is the name of the game. We saw maybe that go a little bit too far in our last series, but I think for this squad particularly, we're going to see a lot of champions that benefit off of getting a lot of levels and really performing after they get to that point.
Yeah, and I think the main thing, right, is whether or not you're going scaling or whatever. We saw this last series. You've got to have control over the wave. If you're just getting permanently pushed in, it doesn't matter how many kills you're able to get. One bad fight, it can really be what spells the end.
Taking a look right now, we have Zero, Mr. Priest, as we said. No, they had the B1 Zone had 4 players on their listed roster. Coma not playing in this one. We'll just have the other 3 participants here. Smolder is a pick that I was talking to Majestic Penguin about before our interview started, which is that this is a pick that they ban in every single one of their games. And hey, they've had a lot of success so far. They, of course, had that bye, did not have to play in the quarterfinal match, and that's because all the wins that they had in their group stage game. So their strategy has been working so far.
Whoa, and Grapes, we're going to get a lot of dive coming out. I know you said B1 Zone likes that scaling, and Wukong, I mean, a champion that actually does scale very well into the game with the just amount of time he's able to buy in the front line. But the Kled Darius for Pillar Men, I mean, come on. That's what it's all about. That is going to be fisticuffs.
Wow, and if this ends up coming through with these 2 picks, that is a decent amount of scaling that could be available for B1 Zone. The Scion has infinitely scaling HP. The Veigar also has infinitely scaling ability power. And so, it looks like they're going to put their money where their mouth is. The Vayne actually going to come through as well instead of that Veigar pick.
Okay, I mean, I think the Vayne's still pretty solid. The Veigar would have been crazy against all these melees, but I think Vayne similarly going to have a lot of ability to create space. But, Grapes, I want to talk about the Scion, because I know you are a Scion enjoyer, and it might please you to know that Scion is currently the 6th highest win rate champion in all of ARAM. He has a 54% win rate. Just the amount of space that this champion is able to control, as well as the bonus HP scaling, can get ridiculous.
That's super interesting because I know right now Scion is not in the best spot in regular League of Legends on Summoner's Rift because of some of the nerfs that happened to him and just how the matchups work in top lane overall. But you have great brush control. The decimating smashes going to be so good in buying space, and also the passive actually works super well in this game mode specifically because you're going to be able to do a ton of damage after you go down. I'm super excited to see what B1 Zone looks like with this composition as we're on to the Abyss for the first game of our second semifinal.
You know, Grapes, turns out that when you do all of your damage in a straight line, like Scion does, the champion pretty good in the map that only goes in a straight line. I mean, who would have thought that? Similarly, I think some things like the Kled or the Darius running in, there's not actually a ton of disengage. They're going to have plenty of targets to hit, and Boiled Grass opting for that Veigar, that B1 Zone almost picked up. That Cage can be a massive presence. Veigar, 9th highest win rate in ARAM, 53.5%.
And I love the Summoner spells choice for the Pillarmen as well. They have double Snowball on their 2 melee champions, and I think they're going to need it because the engage power, the gap closing power, not as strong, but if they can get into melee range, those champions do a ton of damage. So it is finding ways to gap close. The Flash Snowball doing a great job of having that happen, and we just have to wait to see when Pillarmen pull the trigger, because when they do, things are about to get explosive.
Yeah, I wonder if Colorin going to be sad that they don't have the Ghost on the Darius. That's maybe something we have to keep track of. Grapes, just, last thing, with all the excitement about the Summoner spells and the Scion, I do want to point out, Majestic Penguin did commit the Cardinal Sin of ARAM. They took Exhaust.
Hey,
it is
any way to win.
Quite good. It is quite good, this game. Do not get me wrong. But it is, in many ways, considered the ARAM Cardinal Sin.
Well, with not a Cardinal Sin, see there in our picture-in-picture, the Poro did get fed at the start of the game, so shout out to Pillarmen. We already have that Event Horizon coming out. Zero in a lot of trouble. The flash forward comes through from Colorin as he gets exhausted in response. Nobody going down just yet, but Mr. Priest still is getting chunked out. A big fight, but nobody ends up going down at the end of the day.
Grapes, I gotta be honest though, Pillarmen, they're also the ones that start off that fight. I think they have like a little bit of the ARAM etiquette edge right now. B1 Zone, they're playing well. Hey, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, they fed the Poro, they didn't take Exhaust. There's something to be said for that. Either way, I mean, Colorin, I feel like out of everybody actually taking the worst end of that trade, Zero, Mr. Priest, going to be able to sustain up with some of those potions and look to re-engage the fight later.
It's a little bit of a slower start here, and I think it makes sense given what these players have said about what they like to do in their playstyle. Decimating Smash, not going to find a target here, but expect that to continue to be Majestic Penguin's playstyle, hovering around these brushes, trying to find Qs, because if one of those fully charged Decimating Smashes does connect, it is a big chunk of damage, a lot of crowd control, and probably one of them going down.
And I think the main thing about both these teams, they both know that their compositions are very all-in, right? Once the fight starts, there's not really a whole lot of getting away, especially now that most of the defensive utility has been burned from that first engagement. So I think similar to what we saw in game number 1 with the last best of 3, neither team wanting to make that big play that could potentially put them in a bad spot. Grapes, I will say, B1 zone, now they're the ones getting some of that area medikit feeding up the Poro, but Colleran going to be the first to drop. Event Horizon does stop up some of the engage, but Celavant not having anywhere to go does trade one back onto Mr. Priest, and in fact, still alive, Boiled Grass. They turn the focus on him. It is going to get the Kled out of there, at least for the time being. Flash follow, Zero cleans up the ace.
What a great fight out of the entire team of B1 zone. Zero doing a ton of kiting, Majestic Penguin landing multiple knockups, and Mr. Priest once again doing a great job buying space. It was one after the other after the other. That is how they want to play these fights. And they got some chunk damage onto the first tier turret, and that is a good start. However, here comes the re-engage here. There's that big Noxie and Guillotine coming out from Colleran, looking for another one on the Majestic Penguin. The bleed not going to be able to take down the Scion, and Mr. Priest has to flash away as well. Barely surviving our B1 zone, but Pillarmen now have the advantage.
Yeah, and you can see how strong Colleran is when Zero is not alive. You would have to think that the Vayne is going to be the target, the most important member for both teams, B1 zone to protect and Pillarmen to dive, because that Darius against the Bruisers really able to take over.
There's still only 5 kills. I will say, this is one of the calmer games that we've had so far in this series.
I think it's middle of the road, right? Like game 1 of the first series was maybe the slowest, but obviously last one was crazy.
Okay, let's look at this again. It was so many great knockups by Majestic Penguin. Started the fight onto Colleran, and then it was just one after the other, picking their targets beautifully in this fight.
Yeah, I think Zero as well, good positioning from them to be pretty much completely untouched in the fight, you know, not allowing themselves to be dove on, because again, I think so much of this game is going to come down to them. They have the 3 kills on their team, which is exactly where B1 zone wants it. With the low HP on their tank to create difficulty, double snowball does land. Zero forced to flash away. Colleran doesn't find the apprehend though, as Majestic Penguin stuck in the baby cage. It's going to be a 1-0, but Zero still going forward. Have the ultimate pop as they want to get villains. First kill going to drop Bear Trap on a rope though, pulling them back, but able to escape on 1 HP. Mr. Priest, now the focus. Q goes wide from Boiled Grass, and B1 zone able to escape with only a 1-for-1.
Still really low HP. Zero doing a nice job tumbling into the Hell Shrine. That's going to ton to keep themselves healthy enough to survive against the poke from this Veigar. The Primordial Burst could have spelled Zero's doom, but now we'll have enough HP to actually make it a fair fight. And for the sides of the Pillarmen, it's going to be so Boiled Grass in this game. If you can land those Event Horizons, get a couple of stuns onto the... That is when the melee champions can go in and be effective. However, right now it's going to be the Pillarmen in a little bit of trouble. But look at with the 2-man hook. Gets one Noxie and Guillotine onto Zero. Looking for another one onto Majestic Penguin as well. The dunk comes in. It's a double kill for the Darius. And Pillarmen are right back in this one.
And there's more snowballs landing. Zero not been quite able to avoid these, and so well done to Pillarmen. I mean, to find those angles, it feels like you're playing a shooting gallery, right? A bullet hell kind of game where you just gotta dodge everything if you are Zero, and unfortunately not able to do it. Boiled Grass not able to find the flash. Zero now back up with the completed Blade of the Ruined King, but another Event Horizon apprehend combo as the Vayne is one-shot. Colleran on this. Darius making plays, and it was Boiled Grass that picked up the kill.
Oh, I love the synergy there between Colleran and Boiled Grass. The hook into the Event Horizon, just sending Zero right into the stun and allow for the rest of it to follow up. They're now going to try to take down the first tower of the game. On the tier 1, demolish procs will be pretty big, and that is already the first tower going out. Lauren now has an opportunity to pop off once again. Another hook straight into the Event Horizon. The Decimate doing a lot, and that's the first kill already for the Darius. Will be traded though, as Zero picks up the kill in response. Now has a chance to fight 1v2. Sullivan flashing away. It will be Majestic Penguin picking that kill up, and now it's just a 1v1. Boiled Grass going to survive using that Event Horizon to buy enough space.
Yeah, just barely surviving, but Zero untouched yet again in the fight, and it's another one that B1 zone able to win. 2 more kills over to the Vayne. But Grapes, I will say, these are the kind of compositions that once one gets going, they might just be able to deathball their opposition. This Veigar pick doing wonders for Boiled Grass and the side of Pillarmen. And, I mean, with the first tower getting picked up by them, most certainly on their front foot.
And now we'll see what B1 Zone can do, because we saw that first fight. That is where everything ended up working well for them, but so far not being the case. That's in some trouble as Sullivan dies onto the back line. Majestic Penguin, though, doing a good job in response, but they have to watch out as Kaloran is starting to stack up the bleeds. Has that Noxian Guillotine, not going to even need it to take down the Wukong, as it will be another trade. It's a 2v1 now. Majestic Penguin going to clear the wave out fast enough to make sure that they cannot do more damage to the tower.
And how about the decisiveness right there from Pillar Men? I mean, is this the LCS or what? Committing onto the enemy Vayne. Getting the one shot down onto the biggest carry, knowing that in the extended 2v2, they can't lose. Boilgrass, unfortunately, paid the price, but hey, sometimes that is just the price that you have to pay to find that dub in the fight.
It seems pretty back and forth. I like how every team that is starting the fight ones that end up winning it, because you saw right there, Sullivan was the one who started it with the charge, and then Kaloran was able to follow up really nicely. And in the other fights, whenever Majestic Penguin was able to find some good decimating smashes, that is when B1 Zone, starting off the fight, end up taking the advantage. I will say, it's going to be full tank for Majestic Penguin, so it has a Knight's Vow to try and keep Zero alive a little bit more. So not a ton of damage, but will be able to buy a ton of space.
Yeah, love that item purchase from Majestic Penguin. I mean, you don't need to do damage on the Scion. You just need to walk up and be a big, chunky meatball for your Vayne. So landing on the Zero. That's going to be the most tense moments are when those skill shots come through, but Kaloran not opting to take it. Full ultimates up and available except for the Kled R. I wonder if when that charge comes back up, Sullivan almost remounted. There they have it. I'm going to look for it.
I love the lethality build as well. Sullivan going very aggressive with the Profane Hydra. We'll see how aggressive he wants to go in his build. Has his double long swords, but hasn't gone back to base in a decent amount of time. So definitely has some more gold to spend after the next fight does break out. Still very even in this game, Hawk. Even though the Pillarmen have taken down the first tower, it seems like at any minute, if B1 Zone win a fight, the game is right back in their hands.
Well, it certainly could be. I mean, Majestic Penguin having that unstoppable onslaught, not wanting to pop it, but I do think there is room. You know, no one on Pillarmen particularly tanky. A bit of DPS from Zero, a bit of time to focus fire. Might just be able to create a numbers advantage if they did want to go for it. Perhaps respecting the health disadvantage, though. Majestic Penguin, half HP as the charge comes through. Kaloran able to find the apprehend, but not onto the Vayne. And here comes Zero, looking for the free hit. That's going to be the first kill. Now Sullivan going to be the next target. It's 2 for Zero so far, and Zero about to clean up the third. It's a double to Mr. Priest. That's at the 3 for Zero ace. Over to B1 Zone.
What a fight from B1 Zone. Zero able to survive through the entirety of the engagement, doing it easily in that fight. It was Sullivan who started things off with the Kled R, but did not crucial target. Now it's not just one tower, it could be a second, as B1 Zone doing a great job here. Zero gonna get the reset on the execute onto the tower, and it will be another fight won and the advantage right back in favor of B1 Zone. However, comes Kaloran and the rest of the opportunity for the Pillarmen to make something happen in response. Only the DAFGL Champion's alive, and it looks like Majestic Penguin will be the sacrifice as the kill will go over to Kaloran.
I mean, I got to give so much credit, though, to Mr. Priest. B1 Zone back in control of this game off of a great fight on the Wukong. When the dive came through, Zero able to tumble backwards, and the knockups from the Cyclone completely denying the Kled and the Darius from getting in. Kaloran, as we said earlier, a little bit of focus fire from the Vayne, and not very tanky, able to get taken down, and B1 Zone. Now, I mean, they're tier 2 under fire, but Majestic Penguin back up in 2 seconds. I need to be careful.
Yeah, no Scion R available, crucially for Majestic Penguin, but they did have it. Could have an opportunity to ult right into the members of the Pillarmen and end up starting another fight. Looks like we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer this time around. All eyes have to be on Zero. We saw how important they were in that last fight. When he's able to stay untouched, the damage that he's able to put out is crazy. And so you see the Quicksilver Sash in inventory. That great purchase, especially against the Vhagar E, the Event Horizon, because if he gets hit up by a stun, he'll be able to walk out safely.
Yeah, not to be denied by that Vhagar. I will say, Mr. Priest, low on HP for this fight if one were to start. Negating the frontline potential. Maybe not going to have the same time buying ability that they did have in the previous fight, but regardless, I do think Pillarmen, I mean, it's all about, as you said, Graves, whether or not they can find the dive. It is Zero trapped in the event horizon for it to bring that quick silver sash, but they are flashing away. Kled onto them, but they're going to survive at least for now. Big apprehend back, and now they're stunned up. No QSS up and available, remember, as the one shot comes through, but it's only onto Mr. Priest. Vayne still kiting. Zero still alive. They're just autoing down Kaloran, dashing forward. That's going to be one kill. No! It's traded finally by Majestic Penguin, but everybody on B1 zone has died as Pillarmen pull off the fight.
Wow. Zero survived so long in that fight, almost was able to clean up everybody on the Pillarmen, but it was just not enough damage. Sullivan and Kaloran both popping off there, making sure they're able to take down the front line and then the Vayne afterwards. It was good on Majestic Penguin to at least kill the Darius to make sure that pushing power is a little bit less, but it will mean this inhibitor tower goes down. The inhibitor will not fall just yet, as Sullivan will go down to the execute, but another big fight and another big advantage going towards the Pillarmen.
It is big for B1 zone that their inhibitor does survive, those inhibs being so incredibly important in this mode, as it's Sullivan and Zero, the most fed members in the game. And Grapes, even with the QSS, it's not the first event horizon that's the dagger, but the second. Boiled Grass on point with that ability in this game.
And a big reason why the Pillarmen have had the advantage right now. The gold lead only less than 1,000. And again, not always a factor here in these Howling Abyss modes. It's more about tempo, who has their item at the right points in the game, and who will win the fights when the waves are in the right position. You remember, the first game of our last series, it was very even back and forth, but then it was one fight won, and then that was just the end of the game because of where the waves were and because of how these champions end up getting at the 15-minute mark.
And everyone having 2 items, I mean, it is so even. Zero does have the QSS backup, but no flash. You would think Sullivan, with the charge, wants to just send it onto this Vayne. We look to pick up the fight. They are at least pushing out the waves at the moment. We talk about the importance of the location of your fights, mitigating how much you give up if it is to go awry. But the charge does come through, locking onto Majestic Penguin, but the flash comes out. Double apprehend onto Mr. Priest and Zero, but the Vayne is currently alive. Snowball going wide as Kaloran has been taken down. Sullivan now dismounted. They're the next target. It's another shutdown over to the Vayne. Boiled Grass, he's going to be taken down. It's a double kill and an ace. B1 zone, free time onto the map. I don't think they can end, but at least an inhibitor should drop.
This time, Zero's able to clean up the fight. And once again, great job by the front line to make sure that the ultimate from Kled did not land onto the Vayne. They tried to use so many tools to take this Vayne down, and she just remained untouched throughout all of it. They're going to get the inhibitor. There'll be one reset by Mr. Priest, so they know they cannot end the game just yet. But with that inhibitor broken open, that is Super Minions continuing to push forward, which means that they're going to be at a great advantage.
Yeah, and we can take another look at this fight. The dive looks like it's at a right timer, but just not able to find Zero with the charge, and they get on top of them for a moment. But the tumble away, double knockup. Again, Mr. Priest and Majestic Penguin. Shout out to the tanks, man. I mean, look, I know it's Zero doing the damage, but buying so much space for this Vayne. And I really do think once Kaloran drops, there's just not really a way to fight back. Mr. Priest now coming back up from their execute previously. And 15-4 may be the kill score, but an inhibitor favoring B1 zone.
Hey, that's the comp that B1 zone said that they were very comfortable running. It was a big carry, an engage / bruiser, and then a big tank on the front line. That is the strategy that has gotten them so many wins, that got them that bye straight into the semifinals. And now they have an opportunity to take that advantage and turn it into a finals berth and a matchup against the Freedom Fighters for the Ultimate Air Force Gaming League crown. Mid lane still, or sorry, the lane right down the middle, I should say. That's what I meant. There's only one lane, and it's mid lane. That's what it's called. That's why it's called ARM at this point. But the Super Minion's going to be able to do a lot in terms of pushing power. And I think we're just waiting again for the Pillarmen to pull the trigger, because so far, B1 zone have been happy with just soaking the engages and then retaliate backfoot.
I don't think we have ever seen a proactive ultimate from Majestic Penguin. I mean, clearly it has worked out for them with the Super Minion advantage. They should never lose control of the wave, but with the snowball landing, here comes the charge as Kaloran onto their target. Zero with the flash, forced away, but not hit up by their event horizon. Boiled Grass, now the target as Kaloran can't get the kills either. It's a double over to the Vayne, and I think it's gonna be a triple. That's gonna be B1 zone. speeding up the fight, and most likely the first game of the series.
Let's see what the death timers look like, but I think B1 Zone have done it. The members of the Air Force Base coming together and taking this first game. 0 ending 11-6-6 on the Vayne. Popping off in that last team fight, picking up all 3 kills onto the Pillar Man and getting the first game of this best of 3 semifinal series.
You said it, Grapes. They wanted to get their big carry, and then everybody else buying space. 0 stepping up in their role to be the carry, but I mean, you got to give another shout out. Mr. Priest, Majestic Penguin, buying the space that they needed to, doing their jobs beautifully. I mean, the teamwork on full display between the men down at Ellsworth Air Force Base, taking Pillarmen to match point.
It was a scaling. As we said, we have the replay of that last fight just to see how impressive that kiting was from 0 on the Vayne. If we could pull that one up right now. Again, it's going to be Pillarmen starting the time, but there's just no way for them to get onto 0.
It's just so tough. I mean, especially when 0 has flash, they're just able to get so far away, and the Darius not really having any gap closers other than their summoner spells. But I think if the snowball doesn't land, Grapes, like, how are you really supposed to get on top of that Vayne at this point? Because for as much dive as there wasn't lockdown CC. A lot of zoning CC, but no great lockdown to really just hold a Vayne in place and take them out.
Yeah, well, congratulations, B1 Zone. It was a hard-fought game, maybe the closest one we had all day so far, and I think that means that this is going to be a very competitive semifinal series. We're going to head to a short break. When we come back, we'll see if B1 Zone can clean things up in a 2-0 fashion, or if it'll be Pillarmen sending us to a Game 3. Welcome back, everybody, to the Department of the Air Force Gaming League semifinals in the League of Legends division. I'm Grapes, joined alongside Hawk, and we have our second game of our second semifinals about to get started. Pillarmen had a really strong identity and composition and did pretty well at the start of that game, Hawk, but B1 Zone, with their scaling and with Zero on the vein, had a tremendous comeback and suddenly are on match point.
Yeah, I mean, B1 Zone clearly understanding how they want to play the game. They fell down early, and I think that's why I'm expecting another competitive game too. Pillarmen, it was a great fight put up from them, and I think they understood what they wanted to do as well. But B1 Zone, their identity just that little bit stronger. I think in particular, that Vayne pick was a huge problem. Pillarmen maybe gonna need more lockdown this time around.
Yeah, we'll see what the side select ends up looking like here. So far, we've seen, once again, blue side be a very, very preferred side because you have the best opportunity to get the first champion that you want in this draft. But, you know, with Pillarmen having the opportunity for side select, we'll see if that ends up being the case. We have a couple minutes until draft gets started, but so far, things going pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think... I mean, how entertaining have these games been, right? Like, seeing everybody just going at it the entire time. A constant fighting. I mean, I feel like that last game we saw was the most organized one so far, which, again, I mean, it may be our 1 seed against our 4, but I want to point to the parity and the fact that, you know, these players all just having a good time playing against each other, leading in to what it's all about here on the ARAM. Grapes, as you said, Pillarmen, picking up the blue side. We're on the way into the draft, and I would expect to see similar styles of composition here in game 2.
I would hope for Pillarmen they have a strategy to try and take down another potential Vayne pick if it gets locked in once again by Zero, because that was very, very strong by them. Okay, they're just going to take it away. That is now 2 late game AD carries that are now banned away from this team on B1 Zone. Zero, of course, a big AD carry player, has Kog'Maw as one of his most played champions. Vayne also on that list. And so not surprised to see them off the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just all about denying things that can both carry the game and stay safe. Because I think that was the problem, is that Pillarmen understood who the target was, but they just couldn't really get on top of that Vayne. Or at least, if they did, couldn't hold them in place for long enough. So, you know, forcing Zero onto an AD carry, you know, for example, most played Ashe, something like that, having a lot less safety, I think is going to be the name of the game.
So it's the same ban so far for B1 Zone. They want to make sure that the Kayle and the Zac aren't in play. If the Smolder gets taken away, that'll be all 3 identical in terms of the ban department. And, well, I'm very interested to see what Pillarmen end up selecting this time around. They had a very clear strategy last time. It was set up with Veigar and then have the melee champions just dive onto the backline and win fights. And it worked at least a little bit at the start of the game. And then once we got later on, Zero specifically was able to survive so long with the help of his teammates buying out space with their, you know, just their really strong crowd control and engage.
And the Veigar left up and available. I do think that was a huge pick for Boiled Grass last game, and I would not be sad to see them go back towards it. I mean, you know, there is a world in which you just go towards a completely different style of composition for Pillarmen, but I think if they wanted to pick that one up here on 1, that would be good. But no, Grapes, okay, you know, I asked for Lockdown CC. Nautilus, we see it all the time in pro play, is the premier.
Yeah. It's great at just picking one singular target and just locking him down. There's a Tahm Kench picked up for B1 Zone. When I got to talk to them in an interview about before the game started, Majestic Penguin said that they really love Tahm Kench and they think that it's a great pick in this game mode specifically. You can tank up so much damage. You actually deal a decent amount of damage as well with your passive in the Qs, dealing a bunch of % health, and you also are able to protect your teammates as well. And so if one final carry comes in here, likely going towards Zero, I think that B1 Zone have once again set themselves up for a great team comp.
And once again, getting the Wukong for Mr. Priest that I think was so brilliant last game. And Tahm Kench, one of those champions that also gets buffs on ARAM. But remember, that's when 5 people are theoretically burning through this Tahm Kench. And anyone that plays ARAM knows that that guy could be a menace on the murder bridge. So with only 3 people DPSing him down, and realistically, only coloring on this Jinx doing real DPS in towards it, this is going to be a very, very difficult catfish to take down. Grapes, one side has their diver tank AD carry combo. The other one has tank enchanter AD carry. We'll see who is able to win the battle of front to backs.
We get a great view over Howling Abyss to start off this game. Once again, a spot in the finals on the line in this matchup as for B1 zone. If they take this, it'll be a matchup against the Freedom Fighters in that grand finals. And on the other side, Pillarman looking to try and force that game 3. All their chips in the Kaloran basket. He is their highest ranked player on the squad. And a lot of pressure going to be on this Jinx as we start the game off.
And I do think not only pressure on this Jinx, I think a lot of responsibility on Boiled Grass, because I do think this Karma pick is the X factor of the draft and would be the reason that Pillarman is able to win. It's really the only poke champion in this game, and I think a lot of additional damage, if it is able to come through from this pick, as well as the safety, will be big. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Graves, I think in a straight-up 3v3, I think B1 Zone just has more ability to buy time with their champions. So it's going to be really difficult for Pillarman to fight them in a straight-up engagement.
At least, yeah, especially as the game gets later on, as you mentioned, with the Xayah for 0. That point-and-click CC with the Nautilus depth charge able to be cancelled or just mitigated with the ultimate being proc by the main carry, and that is why you pick Nautilus, to get onto one particular character and just put a full amount of damage onto them. It's gonna be hard to do that against 0 when that Featherstorm is unlocked.
I do wonder, you know, if our teams are going to play a slow game or if they will look for some of those early fights. You know, for now, they're opting to just fatten up that one Poro. Maybe it'll explode into many little Poros for us later on. But, I mean, because I think both these teams are, like, theoretically just content to farm it up and take the 3v3 when they're ready.
I'm really excited to see what these fights end up looking like. And again, it's all about single target damage, locking down one at a time for Pillarmen. Not only because that is what the Nautilus does best, but as soon as one kill goes over Pelor, you can get a ton of attack speed and movement speed, and that is where this Jinx really can be a big threat here. So far, things have been pretty quiet. Poke comes out with the Mantra Q, making sure that 0 is chucked out at least a little bit. But I think we're waiting for level 6s here, Hawk. That is when the trigger will finally get pulled.
Yeah, and Graves, as we get the picture-in-picture, you know, of the replay feeding the Poro, someone needs to play Braum to give the Poros mustaches at some point today. Like,
yes.
Did you know that was a thing?
I did actually. I
Yeah.
I don't know if I've done it or seen it in a game before, or like recently.
The mustache Poros are so cute. You know, they got their little mustache. They're looking so distinguished when they have it. Someone's got to play Braum for me. You know, for me.
Honestly, I think it's like a pretty solid pick here as well. You know, especially when you think about
Braum is quite
how
good.
when you think about how like B1 Zone have been playing their games, a lot of zone control, a lot of like, disengage. That is what Braum does best. If for some reason we go to a game 3 that Tom Kent's not on the table, maybe Majestic Penguin can get those mustaches on the Poros for us. I think it's wrong.
I think Braum has also always been, again, a champion that does everything in a straight line, one of the best team fighting supports, and his ability to both disengage and create, you know, space, CC. A lot of good things going for it. Hey, all I'm saying is, I don't know if, like, you know, Freedom Fighters are listening to the stream or anything. If you pick Braum, I'll know. You know, it was for me. That would be appreciated. But we'll see. We'll see.
Now we do finally have level 6 unlocked here. See another Poro. Getting some love here by our team. We do still see 4 Poro snacks on the inventories for our players, and that is not good. We need to up those numbers, sure that all those Poros get fed.
Yeah, we gotta, guys. It's dinner time. Like we can't deny our Poro. You know, I want to know who it was back in like 2009 at Riot that was like, we need to just create like the most adorable little fluff ball possible. Brilliant, you know.
It's such a big part of the League of Legends community now too. Like Poros
I know.
are just such of everything. Like they're like in their.
You go to
TFT.
Riot, they have like little Poro plushes.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so yeah.
Anyway, I mean, we were talking about Poros for so long, Hawk, because this game, very slow for a 3v3 Howling Abyss game. I mean, I know that these players want to scale. Look at the CS numbers actually right now as well. This is, both AD carries are at like 10 CS per minute. teammates are just giving them as much money as possible. We finally get ourselves an engage. Kaloran able to flash away from the Cyclone, and will be able to survive at least so far. Blade Caller connects onto Salavan, and it's first blood for B1 Zone once again. Exhaust lands onto the Jinx. Nice job by Boiled Grass to block away the Tongue Lash of Majestic Penguin to make sure that Kaloran is able to survive. It'll just be that one kill as Blue B1 Zone pick up first blood.
And just simply so much ability to buy time for the side of B1 Zone. You can see Mr. Priest doing a really great job of sneaking into this bush, not getting spotted, and finding the multi-man knockup. Great flash from Kaloran to at least get out of the CC, but I mean, there's just not any damage to come from this Jinx at this point, and Tahm Kench standing tall in the front line, not bothered by what can come out. It is only the 1-for-0 though. However, Kaloran is a bit low. It does mean that at the very least, Celavant, they have that Heartsteel completed.
Yeah, that's going to actually be a pretty big jump in terms of power compared to everyone else who hasn't died yet, so they haven't gotten a chance to reset. The big thing, though, is that it becomes so hard for Pillarman to start the engage unless it's on somebody that is not named Zero. They will do it again right here as Majestic Penguin going to get targeted, but now they will kite away. As I was saying, hard for Sullivan to find the engage because Zero has that Blade Caller and the Featherstorm still available. Here comes the re-engage, so they knock up the Jinx, and Zero kill onto Kaloran. It's now 2-0 in favor of B1 Zone. Sullivan has to flash away, misses the dredge line, and now in a bit of trouble as well. The Blade Caller not finding enough as it's once again a kill going over to B1 Zone.
I mean, Zero simply going untouched in these fights seems to be the running theme in these games. B1 Zone having a very well-defined team style. 2-0 already on the Xayah 10 CS per minute, trying to burn down Celavant. Is quite tanky with the Heartsteel Graves. I mean, I think the one saving grace, yet again, Kaloran getting to go back, buy items first, having that Kraken Slayer come online, and, hey, Celavant stacking up that Heartsteel early. That's what we like to see.
The more HP, the better. Of course, right now in this game, it becomes very difficult for them to, you know, take down anybody on Pillarman right now. There's a big Poro and a big engage coming out from Mr. Priest as well. He will finally give Pillarman their first kill. Now the Jinx is excited. Already the ultimate used by Zero. They will fall as well as a double kill coming over as it will be picked up by Celavant. And there's the response coming out from Pillarman. It is 3-0 in favor of them.
Pillarmen using their item advantage, using the fact that they've used all their Poro stacks, and getting in there for the fight. It was all about scaling, baby. Getting those first item spikes. They're going to take the first tower, going to reset for their Jinx as well. Now, that does mean B1 Zone having the time to go back and buy their items in their own right. But getting that tower so incredibly big, the first one, oftentimes the most difficult to take down.
Wow, just like that, the game flipping on its head a little bit. Pillarmen have that first tower, and they still have their Jinx with a full Kraken Slayer. Obviously, Zero was able to go back to base and buy a little bit of extra items, but in terms of like power, in terms of just items between these two champions, not a ton of difference right now. Right now, we're waiting for the ultimate for Zero to come back up before B1 Zone start another engage, but once they do, I don't know, Pillarmen might have another chance to win again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for Pillarman is that Boiled Grass, the only person in the game yet to die. So there's Karma just a bit behind the curve in terms of items when compared with everyone else. The gold advantage for Pillarman, a bit misleading. Look at that, 4,000 gold in inventory of the Pillarman support.
Man, I know that, like, you don't want to just run in and die, but Boiled Grass must be like, guys, if I just end up dying one time here, so much money. But honestly, Karma's a champion that you're not too upset with not having a lot of gold, because you can still level up your shield, still keep Kaloran healthy, and that again is the biggest priority in this team composition for the blue squad.
And Grapes, I don't know if I'm just a goblin, but for me, there's definitely a certain mini game of like how much gold can I actually get before I die. Like,
yeah,
you know, can I get to 5,000? Can I get to 6,000? He's already at 4. Like at some point, you know, it's like I could run in and die. It's probably better for me to run in and die. But like, how crazy would it be if I died for the first time and bought like 3 completed items?
You come back with just full build after having nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a. That's like the hard. That's League of Legends on hard mode, right? You can only buy like once you have your full build or something like that. And honestly, Boiled Grass might get close to it.
That is very
Still
hard
yet to die.
League of Legends. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I had a game once where I was playing against somebody who did not buy any items the entire game, never went back to base, and they ended up winning the game. And they're playing jungle, and it was the most demoralizing experience of my life. So that's when you know you're really getting outmatched.
Oops, Elevant though gonna pull the trigger. It's just ult for ult so far with 0, but health bar advantage over to B1 zone. Mr. Priest trying to zone the team out with the Cyclone, but that's a lot of damage being traded back. Devour to save the Wukong, but that's a hook. Landing on Zaya, no Feather Storm means that he is vulnerable. Elevant though first to drop as the Blade Collar is true. 0 picking up a kill, and now Kaloran getting rooted up, getting knocked up. That's going to be a second as Boiled Grass the only one alive, and that's a 4,000 gold in pocket. Karma finally getting their death, but it's delivered at the wrong time. B1 zone finding the ace in the first tower on their side.
Wow, look at the wombo combo from 0 and Majestic Penguin. Blade Collar straight into the Abyssal Dive. Allows for that kill to be found on the Kaloran. A shutdown will go into the hands of Boiled Grass, who will be able to pick up 2 full items off of that base. That is going to be a much stronger Karma at this point in the game now, but B1 Zone finding a great opportunity. 0 now super strong in this game, and they want that 2-0. They want that sweep. They want their chance at the finals.
Yeah, 0 taking their death to get their second item. Now everyone on Pillarmen having the 2 item spike. It's a Knight's Vow on both 80 carries, but at least the marksman on even footing. Gold on even footing, but items favoring Pillarmen. Map control going their way as Majestic Penguin. The tongue lash goes wide, but Pillarmen, they know that they are strong and they're searching, pushing forward.
I love how both of these 80 carries are also just farming so well as well. Like, it's more than 10 CS per minute for B1 Zone and for 0. Almost 10 CS per minute here for Kaloran as well. Both of these teams know exactly what their identity is to get their 80 carry as strong as possible. We see this happen in competitive games on Summoner's Rift, and it's really funny that we're seeing it now here on Howling Abyss, because it's working really well.
Yeah, I mean, clearly these teams, you know, hey, that's what the competition's all about. Like, it may be friendly competition amongst, you know, fellow airmen, right? But they're trying. They're making sure to play optimally, taking these matches seriously, and not wanting to let each other pull one over on the other. I mean, Pillarmen made B1 Zone work for it in game 1. And that Poro working for his stacks. Yeah, we got the Pinata!
Oh! There we go. That's what we love to see. The tower goes down. All the snacks onto one specific Poro. Now we got even more running around the rift. Oh, it's so cute. It's like a moral. It's a moral win now for B1 Zone as well, because they're just following them around.
Yeah, there's all the little Poros. Look at that. They get to spectate the intense battle happening on the bridge. Speaking of, Celavon is walking forward. That's a Blade Collar back from 0, finding the root, but the Nautilus is tanky. Snowball goes wide. That one's big. Mr. Priest definitely has the ability to disrupt these fights if he does find Kaloran. Everybody just going to disengage for now.
9 kills in 13 minutes. I'm so used to so far in this show,
Cribs.
Hawk, just having like fights happening left and right. Right now, that's not really happening. This is like really high level gameplay right now.
I've seen Summoner's Rift games with more kills. I mean, we have casted semi-pro games with more kills than this. These teams not taking unnecessary risks, recognizing the stakes. Pillarmen in particular for them. You lose here, your tournament is done.
And I think they're very much aware of that. Celavon being very, very picky with what engages he wants to go for. Just to make sure you find it onto the right target, make sure 0 does not have the Feather Storm before you land the depth charge on them. You saw the last time that happened, 0 was able to cancel it, and make sure that ultimate kind of didn't mean anything, and they won the fight after that. So that is the biggest thing that we have our eyes on right now. B1 are able to soak in a lot of the engage that Pillarmen do have to offer for themselves. And that is why we're kind of at this standstill in this game.
Pillarmen do have the item advantage. I mean, I do wonder if there is a point in which they can just pull the trigger onto anyone. I think the most important thing, Celavant lands the auto attack on a 0. Getting a dredge line onto the Zaya would definitely be difficult, I think. But, you know, if you can find that route and then force out the Blade Collar with that depth charge to follow, I think is an ideal scenario. But everybody just going to continue pushing back and forth on these waves. I want to remind that Pillarmen with item advantage, and the poke from Boiled Grass. I mean, I think they're fine with playing a slow game because they have the additional range and damage that this Karma provides.
And again, the stakes of what happens at this point in the game, we're like 15 minutes in. Death timers in Howling Abyss are getting closer to that 30-second mark. So if, for example, in this situation, B1 Zone win a fight with a wave in this spot, Zero is so strong, being that hyper-fed AD carry, that they might have enough to just end the game if it's a clean ace and if everybody's able to contribute to hitting the towers and ending this one. So that is why everybody has to be so cautious about starting the right engage, because they know that one misplay could result in the game just ending.
Yeah, I almost wonder for that reason if this is a lot of respect being paid by Pillar Men, but I mean, at the very least, you know, if they are playing this way, there is no engage to come through, and B1 Zone, I mean, I think feeling completely comfortable with their position, Zero being the richest member in the game, multiple people having, I mean, over
gold.
2, 3, 4,000 gold. Everybody wants to die, but nobody wants to die because you don't want to lose out.
Because the death timers are so long in that sense. You already see right now, Mr. Priest.
Mr. Priest, yeah.
Getting pretty. The poke right now is actually benefiting the Pillarmen right now. If they can just continue to play things out this way, that could be their angle to actually have an advantage in a 3v3.
I mean, we said this early on in the game. I think the X Factor pick for the Pillarmen is this Karma for what we are seeing. Boiled Grass just able to dish out punishment that neither team really has ability elsewhere to be able to throw down. B1 Zone not able to answer the range, but a Tongue Lash does land. They're on to Boiled Grass, but Mr. Priest not able to get in range for the Wukong engage, meaning it's just a little bit of damage being traded every which way. Mr. Priest still low on HP, meaning that it is dangerous if the Wukong were to go. Zero, though, burning down Celavon. This Nautilus needs to get out of town, flash away as a depth charge goes through, but no follow-up means no Featherstorm forced to be burned. Now it's Boiled Grass. He's the next target. Zero, one more auto. Doesn't take him down, but he's running forward under the tower. Featherstorm comes out, and it's a kill over to B1 Zone. It's only going to be one, unless Zero has anything to say about it. Still has the ghost. Mr. Priest now into the back line. He claims Boiled Grass, and it's an ace to Zero, and Grapes, that might just be it!
The game just explodes with that team fight, and Zero the one to pop off first. It is 15 seconds on Celavon. I don't think this is the game. It is at least an inhibitor going to be picked up by B1 Zone. Zero going to take that one down. They will try to at least hit onto this crystal, make sure that there are as many structures taken down as possible, or perhaps they're waiting for the extra. Zero actually not going to take the inhib, opting instead to get the clean reset without any gold going over, will mean that they are even stronger the next time that these two teams fight.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I wonder if Zero... I actually wonder if you value the execute over the inhibitor. I would think the inhibitor is more important than the gold that Pillarmen would not be able to spend immediately, because once inhibitor drops, one more fight you would have to think spells the end. But either way, Zero taking the good base, and I think the fact remains that B1 Zone one good fight away from a dance into the finals up against the Freedom Fighters. Pillarmen backs against the wall, pushing forward now. 3 items on Collerin. But no flash, no ghost up and available. Zero having the Featherstorm, adding that extra layer of safety unanswered by the Pillarmen.
And we see the benefit of going for the deaths at the right time here. Because B1 Zone all died after taking down the inhibitor turret, they were able to respawn in time before even a single wave got under their own towers. The Pillarmen not able to get anything in response of that. You now have 3.5 items in on Zero. Majestic Penguin, super tanky now with the Randwinds and the Spirit Visage unlocked. And Mr. Priest having, crucially, that Serpent's Fang. That is going to be big because Boiled Grass and Celavon both have shields in their kits, which means it'll be easier for them to get melted if hit by the Wukong.
Zero with the Last Whisper as well, going to burn through Celavon even faster. I mean, it definitely feels difficult for Pillarmen to win this game. They just don't have the same amount of time buying, and now Boiled Grass could be the target. That's going to be the dive coming through from the Tom Ken. Celavon getting burned down. It's Zero untouched in the front line. Featherstorm out of the depth charge. Collerin, he's going to get taken down. The enemy carry is out of the fight as Pillarmen are falling all around them. But B1 Zone running them over as it's a double kill picked up for Zero. Inhibitor in their sights. Boiled Grass getting flashed on. Majestic Penguin, he wants to clean up the ace and clean up this series. Boiled Grass able to survive at least with the flash, but the Nexus towers are the focus, and he's the only one alive.
There's the knock-up Boiled Grass in a lot of trouble now, but I don't think it's going to matter if he lives or dies. The Devourer comes out, Majestic Penguin picks up the kill, and it took almost 20 minutes, but B1 Zone are going to move on to the Grand Finals with a 2-0 win over the Pillarmen.
What a series from B1 Zone. Perhaps deserving of their first seed. Look, it may not have been as flashy as the Freedom Fighters, but their team identity so sound, their game plan so solid. Pillarmen, I mean, shout out to them for matching for so long throughout, but B1 Zone simply having that slight edge over them, allowing to take both games and move on to the grand final.
Yeah, played great in that game and in this series as a whole. The Vayne in game number 1. Of course, the Zaya, which is one of his most played recently as well, coming out in that game. And it all worked out very well for them. They had the game plan. It worked. They were able to execute on it. And even though Pillarmen had a very similar strategy, it was just a better execution on the day for B1 Zone. Now, a date in the finals with a very strong opponent in Freedom Fighters. And I'm excited to see how they're able to match up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, maybe we can get some of their thoughts on how that matchup is going to go. We've got a winner's interview in a little bit, Grapes, but B1 Zone, I mean, credit to them. I am very excited to see the grand finals coming up very soon.
All right, we're going to head to that short break, and when we come back, we'll have our interview with the winners, B1 Zone. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are here with our winners interview with Majestic Penguin once again after their 2-0 win and their advancement into the grand finals against the Pillarmen. Majestic Penguin, first of all, congratulations on the win. I want to talk about the strategy that you guys had in both of the drafts of those games. Of course, playing a lot of tanks to support the big carries. Was that always the game plan coming in? Because it was a very interesting game to watch.
It was the game plan going into that. We were kind of worried we were going to get banned out of our tanks, as we had played the Pillarmen before, and they kind of knew our game plan from that. But it ended up working out. We were able to get a couple different picks we didn't use before, and it ended up working out for us.
Nice. I mean, clearly, yeah, the game plan looked rock solid to me. Y'all knew exactly what you were about. And now, looking ahead to the grand finals as well, a matchup against the Freedom Fighters. Winner takes, all with the bragging rights, the championship coin, everything like that. How are you guys feeling going into it?
We're, I would say, anxious, but the Freedom Fighters had a pretty good... I watched their games, a little bit of them here and there, and they play very different to what we're used to, so I'm worried about their engage and what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely true. There were some unorthodox picks that they had there in that semifinals. It was fun to watch. So, I mean, the clash of playstyles I think is going to be very interesting when you guys end up facing off. Another question I had for you, Majestic Penguin, just about how you guys are all from the same Air Force base. Your opponents in the prelim all from the same Space Force base. Do you think that having these people that you're playing with be people that you know and are able to interact with all throughout your daily life, do you think that creates a little bit of extra synergy?
It definitely creates some synergy, and we just started playing League together, but knowing each other helps, and then being able to play against these guys in the Space Force, it's that friendly rivalry that we talk about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta love the friendly rivalries and stuff, and Majestic Penguin, we'll let you go prepare for your grand finals to continue with some of those friendly rivalries. We're looking forward to watching it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And when we come back, we'll have a grand final on your screens. So don't go anywhere and stay tuned.
Thank you, guys.
I'm Sergeant Donna Lopez. My main tag is Hey It's Donna, mostly on the PC, and then Xbox it's a thingamabob, like from The Little Mermaid. And I'm on Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam in Hawaii. I am actually in the Air Reserve as a 2T2 air transportation. When I was active duty, I was a 2T3 vehicle management. Just as if you were to go into, an airport, you check in, so there's the PAX terminal, and then we also have like the crew, the ramp, who like loads the aircrafts, and then everything like behind the scenes, the load planning, cargo, things like that. So actually, my introduction into gaming was when I was a little kid, probably kindergarten, honestly. Both my parents are gamers, and my earliest games that I can remember is playing with my dad with Diablo. He would just sit me on his lap, and then, the keys have the hotkeys, right? And so my only job was to hit the number 1 when his health got to a certain point. That was my job, and I was on it. And then with my mom, we would solve puzzles on, what was it called? King's Quest. So those are like the earliest memories I have of gaming, and so it's very nostalgic for me.
Do you watch my stream? Does it buffer? Does it freeze? Can you comment down below? Because I'd really like to know. If you follow, then you know every hour, stretching toes. If you watch my stream.
Most of the time, I'll play Fortnite with my son. He loves Fortnite. And then my daughter likes Animal Crossing. So I'll play just those games with them. But then me personally, I like RPG games. So like Witcher or Tomb Raider and things like that. And Diablo, of course.
Let's get to Hank. I think Hank has like a deep voice. I'm stereotyping because he's a bear.
I'm kind of intimidated playing competitive games, but a lot of my friends, mostly here, they're trying to get me to play like Call of Duty, so I bought a couple of different versions. Whichever ones they told me to buy, I just buy those. And then like Fortnite and things like that. So I'm definitely open to it, but I like playing with other people, so as opposed to just me solo.
In here. Thanks, Peach. Follow.
So I actually thought that it was really cool that the Air Force even has like a esports and gaming community, and I just never really thought that that would be something that I would ever see in the military. I found it through the Air Force portal. I just saw it on the banner, just scrolling by, and I just thought it was really cool. I think it's so unique that there's a whole community for just like gamers. I'm pretty new to the community, but I'm still trying to like reach out to people, play games with them, and just build that networking, just meeting people that I normally wouldn't meet outside of my base, especially because where I live is actually on a completely different island from where the base is. So I'm pretty excluded as far as just like base activities and things like that. So I don't get to hang out with a lot of military community outside of, the people that I meet here. You guys even have, like volunteer opportunities. So I saw one pop up just the other day, if someone was looking for a bullet, it's completely unique as opposed to what they normally would have or normally would see in EPRs. I would definitely say just join the community so you can meet new people, you can have these outside opportunities that you probably never would see yourself doing.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Department of the Air Force Gaming League Grand Finals of our League of Legends division. We've got a really great finals matchup set up now between B1 Zone and the Freedom Fighters, each of them taking their semifinal series 2-0, and neither of them dropping a game so far in the playoff stage. Hawk, these are finally our grand finals. Of course, a lot on the line between getting that commemorative gold coin and those bragging rights, and I think a very fun clash in play styles that we're about to watch right now.
Yeah, and we can look at the bracket to see how these two teams got here as well, because it's been a journey for both of them, both finding 2-0 victories in the semifinals for B1 Zone and the Freedom Fighters, and both of them skipping out on that first round as well due to being our two highest seeds now arriving in the grand finals. I think the expectation is a great and fun matchup between these teams.
And I love the point that was brought up, of course, when we interviewed Majestic Penguin before this finals matchup began, in that these two teams play very differently. We saw Freedom Fighters really go ballistic in terms of the champions that they ended up playing. They would be happy with taking extra deaths if it means that they're able to get more kills and just play super actively across the map. On the other side, B1 Zone, a very rigid play style. Of course, they have their backline carry, most likely Zero, doing a lot of the damage, and the Majestic Penguin and Mr. Priest just soaking up a lot and doing a lot of zoning to keep their carry alive. And so we'll see how that playstyle ends up going against each other. But of course, on the line, the big prizes at stake. Both of these teams already have that custom jersey, and so now they are playing for that exclusive Spring 2024 Challenge coin.
Yep, you want to get the challenge coin. Again, we've had it spoken about as well. The bragging rights, the friendly rivalries. I mean, there's a lot going for them. Of course, both of them, going to get the rest of the swag. They're going to get the jerseys, the desk mat, that kind of stuff. But you want to be the one to take it all.
The challenge coin, I'm sure it's very highly decorated, and it'll be something that they can show off whenever they can show off to their fellow members in the Air Force at their local bases. I'm sure everybody at Ellsworth Air Force Base are going to be super impressed. I'm sure they're all rooting for B1 Zone right now because, of course, these are all people who serve in that same base and have known each other for years. We heard Majestic Penguin say that he's known some of his teammates for almost 5 years at this point, and even though they just started playing League of Legends together, this is where they truly have been able to build a lot of synergy, a lot of camaraderie, and what better way to cap that day off by having a great upset performance against the Freedom Fighters.
And speaking of that camaraderie as well, just to recap on the rosters, Majestic Penguin, Zero, Mr. Priest, comprising a B1 Zone over at Ellsworth Air Force Base. And for Freedom Fighters, Kemsy Kemsa, Properling, and April or Shiro, depending on who you're asking. But either way, these two teams, we've seen them once before. Like you said, Grapes, clash of styles. I think it's going to be interesting. Freedom Fighters having the most one-sided games. I think B1 Zone series was closer, but B1 Zone, the most well-defined identity.
Yeah, and despite Freedom Fighters being full of Master Tier players, they're actually, of course, going to go over to the red side to start things off. They were listed as the 1 seed according to the bracket, but Freedom Fighters, I think, just getting that advantage, getting the blue side, which both teams have preferred so far. And of course, with the differences in these playstyles, we're expecting to see the bans be very targeted towards one of the other players. The Xerath is something that I have my eye on as potentially being taken away. The Tom Kench, of course, as well, was something that was able to be very, very successful.
I think that's something I expect to see. B1 Zone maybe opting to go over to the red side so that they can, get some sort of counter pick, some sort of X factor that would, whether it's the carry for Zero that they know what they want to go to, or a specific tank for Majestic Penguin. And I expect to see the Freedom Fighters removing that safety, whereas B1 Zone wanting to remove those more volatile picks like the Yone.
Yeah, I mean, volatility has been what Freedom Fighters like to do. I mean, those games were the ones that were super back and forth until that second game, when if they just get a hold of a couple of fights in a row, that is where we saw Freedom Fighters just absolutely dominate the map. They won that game, I think, in less than 8 minutes against their opponents, and that was a pretty scary sight. And so with the Vayne being taken off the board, they want to make sure they can avoid having to get to that late game stage where the scaling really does come forward, and really focus on the early game, because that is where they have shined the most.
And it does make me wonder what direction B1 Zone will opt to go to. Both the marksmen that they played last game getting removed. And, you know, Kog'Maw, for example, was a champion that was banned out by the Pillarmen. Perhaps Zero wants to go that direction. But, you know, for April on the other side, we've seen so far the Yasuo and the Kindred from them throughout this tournament.
A lot of big carries still available for April. See what they lock in here. The Zeri, another champion that is very strong in terms of late game scaling and also just the ability to pop off in some of these team fights, especially when she hits level 6. I will say, like the Cassante that was played earlier today, a champion that does benefit from having walls on Summoner's Rift and might be affected a little bit here on Howling Abyss with just less opportunities to jump over those big walls.
Yeah, I will say though, even without the good walls to play on, Zeri is really good on Howling Abyss just because it has a lot of individual agency. The pick oftentimes able to take care of itself, and the chain slows, chain lightning, chain damage is all just a lot coming out, and it can be really strong. Sion Wukong combo though, going back towards it, we've only seen the Wukong so far from Mr. Priest to significant effect. Sion getting picked up as well. I think this champion so incredibly powerful, and they are going to use that R3 pick to secure the ideal carry for Zero.
Yeah, this is the same composition so far that B1 Zone rocked in the first game that they played against the Pillarmen. Of course, now the Vayne is banned, and so it will be Zero being forced onto a different champion. Rounding out the composition for the Freedom Fighters, on top of the Aatrox, it might be this Lissandra for some more single target lockdown. And I do like this strategy because of the fact that B1 Zone have that unique playstyle of playing around that big carry. If the Lissandra can just lock Zero down, that allows for April and Kemsa to take over the rest of the fight.
Something like a Kog'Maw, though, could outrange this team so substantially, and that will be the choice. I would expect to see, whether it's a cleanse or a QSS, something to try to keep this Kog'Maw safe. I will say, I think for Freedom Fighters, the most standard composition, perhaps, that we've seen so far from them, Graves, double divers with April on this area to just try to carry later on. Bit more damage-oriented as opposed to frontlining, but they do still have the time buying with the drain tanking of the Aatrox, with the Lissandra potentially going into that frozen tomb. However, I mean, this Kog'Maw going to be difficult to take down, and I think there is a world where Zero can start indexing into tank items on that 3rd, 4th, 5th item and be very hard to remove.
A lot of burst damage in the front, and then you have April doing a lot of damage in the back here for the Freedom Fighters. EPS, I think, on both sides is very solid and very balanced, which is what I am excited to see here as we get ready for the first game of our best of 3 grand finals. Once again, those bragging rights as well as that commemorative coin on the line here, the winner taking those 3. Will it be the friends over at Ellsworth Air Force Base or our super squad over on Freedom Fighters? I'm excited to find out.
Our super squad currently in active duty, let's remember as well, Freedom Fighters. I mean, all somehow maintaining Masters rank too is just so awesome to see for them. I mean, it goes to show, you know, even when you are in the armed services, still having plenty of time to go pursue hobbies, pursue things that create community, just like video games. And you'll love to see now these two teams having everything on the line. We are on to the bridge for the first game of the grand final.
Got our ghosts up there supporting our players. We got the Poros once again on the Rift. And of course, just a little bit more stake with this being the grand finals. Start things off pretty aggressively, actually. And there's a full engage for the Freedom Fighters at the start of this game. Already, Mr. Priest has to dash away. It's followed by the flash of Kemsa, and the Freedom Fighters pick up first blood. They're looking for a second. The Lissandra passive gets it onto Zero, and it's quickly 2-0 to start off this game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good start for them. The action getting going early. There's a reason that Lissandra, one of the stronger champions here in ARAM, Pop Reeling, able to get, once one kill comes through, the Thralls, and they are so difficult to avoid in the combined space of ARAM.
Man, what a fun engage so far. Looks like they're looking for more. Kemsa just takes up so much damage, has a ton of healing, will finally go down to Zero in response, but there is nothing else on the other side. April now having 3 assists. That's Pop Reeling getting on the board as well, and let's see what Kemsa comes back to base with, because we'll have a lot of gold to work with. That is another longsword and boots to go alongside the Brutalizer.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw it on display right there. Kemsa with this Aatrox, so much ability to deny the Scion Qs. Of course, as I say that, Majestic Penguin, that's a nice double knock-up as the first kill already comes through onto the Aatrox. Second death going out. Populating into the Kog'Maw, but they're ignoring the Lissandra all the way in onto April. They know they can come back to collect this kill. Popperling just trying to buy time, but Zero should eventually be able to clean this one up, and in fact, it does go over to Mr. Priest.
Oh, look at April almost taking down Zero. Had the Ignite ticking on top of him. The lethal tempo proc as well. Will not go down just yet. Kemsa gonna pull back Majestic Penguin, but now with the health bar super low on a lot of different players, things get super volatile. Kemsa has an opportunity to jump in and do a ton of damage if they can connect that snowball onto Zero. April playing with fire, a little bit less than 100 HP, but right now, the flash is going to come in from Popperling and take Zero down. The trade not found on the other side until the Kog'Maw passive comes through. April will finally go down, but not before Freedom Fighters win another fight.
Yeah, Zero doing the best I'm a Cutie Pie impression, making use of that Kog'Maw passive better than anyone, picking up the kills. Kemsa barely not able to find one on the Majestic Penguin, and neither is Popperling. It's a double to the Scion under the tower.
5 to 6, 11 kills the first 3 minutes. This is back to what we wanted to see. And of course, these volatile games so far have benefited the Freedom Fighters. But so far, Blue B1 Zone have been able to match up pretty well in terms of the playstyle that, of course, their opponents are looking for. That is still a ton of items still in this Aatrox's inventory specifically. We see April getting closer and closer to being strong. Now all of these champions also have level 6, so this next fight can be even more explosive with their ultimates available.
I have to think that might favor the side of the Freedom Fighters. Popperling going in, finding the Glacial Tomb, but not the damage to follow through. Now Majestic Penguin in with the unstoppable onslaught. April is the next target, but not before taking out one. It's a 1v2, but that's still an Aatrox World Ender popped. He can be so difficult to take out. In fact, he takes down Zero. Will survive the Kog'Maw passive on 1 HP, forcing the flash from Mr. Priest as well. It's a 2 for 2 as everybody wants to die.
Oh man, I think if Kemsa had the flash onto the Wukong with the Q3, it could have maybe been that third and final kill. But these bruisers, man, are gonna go at it time and time again here in this game. Another fight won, those ultimates providing a ton of value once again, as we saw. Now another siege coming forward from the Freedom Fighters. B1 Zone looking for another opportunity. Snowball not connecting. And a good job by B1 Zone to clear the waves out, make sure that not enough damage is being done to this tower for it to go down.
B1 Zone doing a brilliant job of fighting back in this game because it has been unrelenting pressure from the Freedom Fighters, just as we saw in their semifinal matchup, Grapes. But I mean, I will say that does make me still favor Freedom Fighters in this game, just because no matter how much they fight, no matter how much they may die, they are controlling the bridge, right? They're the ones that are pushing the way forward, making it difficult for B1 Zone to walk up.
It's still, of course, with those waves getting pushed in, a good opportunity once again for Freedom Fighters to find a good kill on Majestic Penguin. He lives with less than 100 HP. Now, here comes a snowball. It lands on a Zero. Popperling not wanting to pull the trigger as they already used that frozen tomb. And so instead, they will back away for now. Just continuing to let those minions hit the tier 1 tower. Make sure that they get the small advantages when they can. And keep the wave on B1 Zone's side of the map.
And Malignance is a really interesting buy. I'm going to be honest, I've not seen a lot of Lissandra in Season 14 so far. It doesn't sound bad to me at all. I just wonder if like something like a Liandry's might have been better as a first item rush. Of course, that doesn't give mana, something that Lissandra does need. I don't know. And if anyone plays more Lissandra than me, I would actually love to know if this is the optimal item purchase. I mean, at the very least, it is going to make that Glacial Prison have a much lower cooldown, much more damage on it, which is going to feel very good if your goal is to just lock down this Kog'Maw and take them out.
Oh, that World Ender, it's already being popped. Kemsa just one-shot Zero, but will fall in response. A big knockup lands onto 2, as now B1 Zone can come back into the fight. On to April they go. It's a 1v2, but the health bars are low on the other side. This area can go crazy in this fight. Has lethal tempo pop. Gets one of the Majestic Penguin. Is looking for another. On to Mr. Priest. And Freedom Fighters take over off the back of their main ADC.
And it doesn't matter, apparently, if the divers get taken out. as long as the AD carry is alive. April, you can see the AoE that Zeri is able to pump out so consistently in this fight. It looks good because they one-shot the enemy marksman, but then in the chase down, Mr. Priest, so incredibly strong, but I mean, just being full HP and hitting both members at once means that April is still able to clutch this one out.
That is 2 straight kills onto the Zeri. And April, of course, was such a big 1v9 player in their semifinal matchup and has an opportunity to do it again. Of course, is not even the kill leader on his team, which is actually the crazier part of this all. It is Kemsa with 5 kills, that Profane Hydra going to be very, very impactful. And Zero just hasn't been able to get onto the map as much as the enemy AD carry has because of how much lockdown there is on the side of the Freedom Fighters. You have the Frozen Tomb, you have the engage from Kemsa, and right now we see another fight, but again, April just able to go away and kite back.
Yeah, Majestic Penguin getting chunked out quite significantly, going to need that Health Shrine. I will say, Kemsa being so low does make it really difficult for the Aatrox to operate, not having the ability to drain tank really for as much. But that tower for B1 Zone, look at how low it is. I mean, at some point, Freedom Fighter should be able to take that one out. And on the other side, their tower full HP.
Yeah, the fact that, I think the biggest thing is the fact that B1 Zone haven't been able to get even into enemy territory and even try to hit these towers. That means even if they do win a fight, it probably does not result in the structure going down. However, a fight not going to be happening on their side of the map anyway, as it is once again the Lightning Crash popped here by April. First kill already being traded back, but it is already a 2-for-1 with only Zero being alive. The snowball in, another engage and a flash forced out of the Kog'Maw will just delay the inevitable. There comes the re-engage. It's another ace picked up, and the first tower also going to the Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, getting some of that Kog'Maw passive value, but that is a small drop in the bucket. April on this Zeri, seemingly always the only one alive, as it's Popryling that gets the fight started. Nice Glacial Prison in after the claw. And, I mean, the Zeri simply untouched. Mr. Priest trying his best to buy space, but Majestic Penguin was already out of the fight, and once it's over, the Kog'Maw all on its lonesome, not really able to do a thing.
And watch this engage as well. That's the Q3 flash that I was waiting for. Shout out, of course, to Kemsa. Bit of great engaged player alongside April, who did actually die. I don't know if it exactly was an execute or just a kill going over to B1 Zone, but now it's a 2v3. Coming over for our red team. Finally at advantage, but here comes the engage already. The Kog'Maw gets burst. 2v3 does not matter. Freedom Fighter still going off, and now their main carry has arrived. It's April cleaning up the house. Another ace picked up for the blue squad.
And the AoE from Freedom Fighter simply starting to look overwhelming as Popryling and Kemsa just do damage to everybody when they're grouped up. A second tower poised to fall. Maybe the inhibitor to follow. Zero is alive, but I don't think there's a defense to be had for this Kog'Maw.
See if the inhibitor actually gets taken down, or if they want to delay that instead, go for some final kills and then just die and reset. It looks like it'll be the latter. It is going to get a lot of kills back onto Zero, and so that at least is good for this B1 Zone squad. It's now 8 kills onto the Kog'Maw. We'll be able to pick up some more items, and that's the ace once again responded to after that initial fight.
Yeah, I mean, that is desperately needed, no doubt, but still, I mean, Zero, you can look in the inventory, has the Rune Hands, now the Rage Blade completed. Maybe that is enough for B1 Zone, but I think the biggest problem, the front line just disappearing, or at the very least, disappearing is the Kog'Maw before the front line is able to buy space for him. Feels like B1 Zone, it's so difficult for them to keep all 3 members alive in these fights, and they seemingly need all 3 to be able to win.
And, you know, you see Zero right now, Hawk. 8 kills leading his team, but also 8 deaths leading his team. And that is, of course, not always where you want to be as the main carry. Getting the kills is nice, but you want to stay alive. You want to be the one to finish the fights. And so far, that hasn't happened because of the lockdown that Freedom Fighters have.
And I think it's credit to Freedom Fighters, as you say, with that lockdown. Popryling in particular has been so decisive in the dives, recognizing what claws he's able to take. That one, not really in position to follow up on a Zero. Doesn't take it. The next one maybe could. Kemsa, though, is just going to be the one in the front line, running down the clone of Mr. Priest, but Majestic Penguin already out of the fight, as you... I mean, exclaim, Graves. This Zeri so strong, flashing in now with the lightning crash onto Zero. The Kog'Maw forced to flash away, but he's the only one alive, Graves, and not for long.
Kenzie Kempsa finishes off the ace. The death timers, I think, can be long enough. It is 10 seconds on Majestic Penguin, and the Freedom Fighters want to end this game right now. They shed blood. They die a little bit on the other side, but at the end of the day, they play their strategies dang well. On to the enemy Nexus they go. Majestic Penguin's going to be zoned out here by the Aatrox. Is populating here to just allow for April to finish the game themselves. On to the Nexus they are. That is game 1 in under 12 minutes, going to the Freedom Fighters.
And it's just like game 1 that we saw last time for the Freedom Fighters, where it's a close, competitive game. Yes, they're on the front foot, but it's not completely won yet for them. But one good ace, 3 for nothing, and they cleaned it up in easy time.
What a great strategy game plan there by the Freedom Fighters. They knew exactly what B1 Zone's comp was going to look like because they have seen them play both in the semifinals and I'm sure in the Swiss bracket in the past. And so, knowing that strategy, they picked the Lissandra, which, even though Populing did not have that many kills, actually had the least amount of kills on both sides, I'm pretty sure, the engages that they were able to find, and then the Aatrox on top, and then the Zeri just hitting from the back, it all worked beautifully in harmony, and that is what allowed for Freedom Fighters to get us to match point in our grand finals.
Yeah, credit to them. Now on match point, now having one game standing between them and the championship coin. But if we know anything about B1 Zone, Grapes, I don't think they're done just yet.
Nope, we'll see if they can stay alive, keep true to their strategy, and if the power of friendship can send us to a game 3. When we come back, we'll have the game 2 draft. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to the Department of the Air Force Gaming League. We are here once again for our League of Legends Finals. We've had a great time in some Howling Abyss 3v3s, and we're going to see if Freedom Fighters can complete that sweep throughout the semifinals and the finals with a win here over B1 Zone. It's not over just yet, Hawk. We saw some good things out of B1 Zone in their last game and in this tournament overall so far, but Freedom Fighters, man, they just look like they're on a different level so far here in this tournament.
I mean, just the individual prowess of Freedom Fighters, their ability to commit consistently onto the enemy carry, picking the right engages. I mean, it has been flashy from them. And I agree with you. I think B1 Zone, they've got good chances in this series. They have shown us that they're capable of, playing their game and really sticking towards that. It just felt like they didn't have enough safety, perhaps, for Zero in the last game, and I wonder, I know that Kog'Maw, a comfort sort of champion, I wonder if they, Grapes, honestly try to get either onto some sort of support as opposed to the outright tank for a Majestic Penguin, or what. Either way, we're into the draft. This time, they have chose blue side.
And again, what's been prioritized every single game, however, it's always been the winning team to win their next game on red side, because all the series so far have been 2-0s. Of course, it's a best of 3, so if B1 Zone lose, their journey is over, and Freedom Fighters will be crowned the champions and get that commemorative coin. All the marbles on the line right now. And if you were looking for that power of friendship here, Hawk, for the members of B1 Zone here at Ellsworth Air Force Base, this is when you need it most.
Absolutely, but Freedom Fighters going to try to ban away some of those champions that maybe would enable that, right? It's still trying to remove that safety. Tom, Kench, Zaya, I would honestly just expect them to go back to the Vayne ban and let it happen. And I think the question remains, do you just go B1 Wukong if you are B1 Zone, right? And, just not give away too much of your hand, go back to a champion that we know we're comfortable with and are able to do a lot on.
Yeah, and again, remember we talked to Majestic Penguin in that interview after they won the semifinal matchup, and they said that in general, the biggest concern they had was the different playstyle that Freedom Fighters were able to bring. And so maybe B1 Zone, now down one game in this series, decide to maybe shift things around a little bit. It'll be the same 3 bans, and all those picks have brought them a lot of success so far here in the semifinals. Now, the Zero lock in something that is a little bit different. The Zeri's still available. That's something that Freedom Fighters were able to play very well. And I know that Zero is a big marksman player. Instead, it's going to be the Xin Zhao, a little bit different, and something that will counter a lot of the long-range spells that Freedom Fighters were able to dish out in that first game.
Oh, and a Riven getting thrown down by Freedom Fighters. They are not messing around. A bit of a hover over towards Majestic Penguins, most played in ranked as well with the Teemo. I will say, though, Grapes, I do like the Xin Zhao. I think whether it's in place of the Wukong or the Scion, I do think it has a little bit less CC, but more time buying in the kit, which I think is the thing that's going to matter the most. Smolder, though, coming out for Freedom Fighters, the single strongest champion in ARAM.
And remember, talking to B1's, I had a chance to speak with Majestic Penguin before the tournament began, and he said that we really don't like playing against the Smolder champion, but because of all the picks that Freedom Fighters have performed so well on so far, they kind of are forced to not ban the Smolder, and so that's one of the strongest picks going over. We now see that there is no 80 carry pick, no consistent damage for B1 Zone with Divine Vex finishing off this draft, and it seems like it's going to be a full all-in early game focused composition, so B1 Zone finally forced to change the way that they approach the draft and approach this game in the grand finals.
Yeah, bit of a pivot here from B1 Zone, as you say, with they're going full dive, fully into killing Smolder, but I will say that is a task that is at times easier said than done with an Azir potentially to create space, or a Sylas, whatever it may be. You kill the Smolder, you got to still be able to win the fight against the other two, and I think that was the shortcoming that we did see from B1 Zone in Game 1.
Now, there's a Sylas to wrap up this composition. It's very similar to what we've seen from Freedom Fighters all day today, which is picking a lot of carries, but picking at least one backline range champion that can really go off in these fights. Zero, I wonder what he's going to play. I guess it's just the Xin Zhao that they're going to lock in for him. I don't see any swaps as we get ready for the second game to begin. So a very different playstyle this time around. It will be Zero on the Xin Zhao instead of the AD carry. It'll be April once again on that backline threat in the Smolder. And Freedom Fighters, I think, have a very good composition and something that they can potentially close this series off with.
I most certainly agree, but who knows? B1 Zone only have the potential to pull through the engage onto the enemy Smolder and maybe just clutch it out. The teams looked for a moment like they were hurtling towards another big early action fight, but both paying respect and backing away.
And now, for B1 Zone, of course they have to be cautious, just like they were at the start of the first game against Freedom Fighters, but the composition that they have, very focused. They're going to want to go in aggressive before level 6 or right around that level 6 power mark in order to make sure that that Smolder, April's champion, is not super strong. They're going to start it off with the Vault Breaker onto Popperling, who'll be able to dash away with the Abscond. And as this wave comes in, already a small advantage for B1 Zone, and that could be the difference maker in the first fight.
Damage advantage can mean a lot, especially when you have a composition with so much single target damage like B1 Zone has. They are going to find Kemsa, who's now dashing forward, though. Popperling in with the Abscond Abduct, and that's going to be first blood to the Smolder. Zero now diving in, does equalize the kills. Kemsa forced to flash away from the third 3 Talon Strike. 1 for 1, but as you say, Grapes, that was a lot of damage coming out from both sides.
The target selection really well played for Freedom Fighters. Unfortunately, Kemsa going a little bit too far forward, and now this is where B1 Zone can start to come back here a little bit. Mr. Priest dashing forward, has the fear on top of many, but Popperling doing a lot of damage in response as well. Now it's a full 2v2, and becomes lightning onto Popperling, and that will be another kill over to B1 Zone. Looking for April, he'll have to use that ghost to get away, and now here comes the re-engage from Kemsa, but not going to be able to find a kill. B1 Zone once again finding the advantage. It's 3-1, 2 minutes in.
Yeah, you talk about that target selection. I mean, Freedom Fighters able to get so much damage onto certain members, but without having everybody alive, they can't finish any of them off. Popperling now going back into the fight, but it's April that's been removed. It's traded for Majestic Penguin, but Zero will find Popperling unless the knockup from Kemsa's better. 2 for 1 this time in favor of Freedom Fighters.
And they're looking for a little bit more as well. In comes Kemsa dash and flash it on to Mr. Priest. It's the triple kill and an ace coming through for the Riven of Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, the Riven coming out in Game 3. Kemsa. I mean, he wants to show off. Remember, this tournament is about bragging rights first and foremost. And the Riven, the perfect champion to do it on. We've got our own little sniper here in the U.S. Air Force taking names.
What a great start to this game. A lot of kills going back and forth, and so far, the biggest winners are Kemsa and Zero on the Jin Zhao. Speaking of, it'll be Majestic Penguin going in, Kemsa picking up another kill, but here comes the response. A double kill now for Mr. Priest. Will they go in with the third proc of the ultimate? Yes, they will. On to April before he fleed out of the fight, and now the Vex suddenly online as well with Shadow Surge.
Yeah, and credit to Mr. Priest. That fight looked really dicey for a minute as Majestic Penguin went deep to try to get a kill and couldn't find anything. Fortunately, the Vex able to clean it up. Now April getting chunked away by Zero. I mean, this is Zhao 3-1-3. Grapes, all these players once again brawling in the middle of the bridge. The big winner so far, I would have to say, Zero and Kemsa so far.
And I love the adjustment that we see here from B1 Zone. They realize that the strategy that they had is not going to work against a team that is super volatile like the Freedom Fighters. So they decided to try to play them in their own game, and so far it's working. They have the kill advantage for now. Of course, the one thing that we have to consider is that April on the Smolder will be able to scale as this game goes on. So our eyes have to continue to be on that. But if B1 Zone can continue to push the pace, find these fights, I think we're in for a very competitive game number 2.
Dare I say, though, that the threat of the Smolder scaling so immense, I do think B1 Zone, they have to press the tempo of this game. The longer it goes, the more difficult it'll be, because I think once Smolder hits that critical mass and it's smoldering time, I don't really know if there's a way that B1 Zone can actually win fights anymore. So, you know, I want to see them keeping the pace up, continue looking for those fights, continue looking for those picks.
And I think right now, B1 Zone, they want to wait for the ultimate of Mr. Priest. That Shadow Surge so big in the last fight that resulted in them taking a win over the Freedom Fighters. Right now, April, Kemsa, and Popperling all have their ultimates available. It is Popperling with the stolen away Xin Zhao ultimate, which will protect him from a lot of the artillery damage from Mr. Priest. It'll be at least another couple of waves, and right now B1 Zone have to try to play safe, but instead the engage is going to come forward from Popperling, using the Crescent Guard to push Popperling back, but it's going to come in the re-engage from Mr. Priest. Shadow Surge finds one, but look at the trade on the other side. Kemsa still full HP, has himself 2, looking for a third, and Zero is the lone survivor for B1 Zone. They're going to give it right back over. Another triple kill for the Freedom Fighters.
And it doesn't matter how good the commitment is, because you got to worry about everybody. First of all, the Crescent Guard buying so much time for Popperling, and by the time he dies, Kemsa untouched, forgotten about in the back line, Grapes, and he's able to find yet another triple in the picture-in-picture. You can see Freedom Fighters dive in the tower just because they can. They may get punished for it, but not before trading kills back, and once again, they're trying to flex on the competition.
Under the tower, so not going to lose too much. It'll be able to respawn, buy a couple more items. You see now Kemsa 7-3 and 2, 6 minutes into this game. That is an Eclipse, a Brutalizer, and a couple of long swords to boot on this Riven. Will continue to take over when given the opportunity. Immediately going in with a snowball, finding a lot of damage onto Zero and forcing him to back away. Freedom Fighters completely in control, despite what you see on the scoreboard right now, as B1 Zone still have that kill lead.
The kill lead, but as you say, I think the Freedom Fighters, the ones holding the cards at the moment. They have first item spice completed on everyone. Zero not quite there yet. Stopped off for the Guardian item. Mr. Priest likewise with that Oblivion Orb. Now it is Majestic Penguin that will be the target. Stolen Shadow Surge in from Popperling, but not enough damage just yet. Crescent Guard from Zero does clean up the first kill onto the Silas as Kemsa goes in, but he gets CC'd and taken down. 2 for nothing, and April forced to run away. B1 Zone keeping things competitive.
The Shadow Surge about to come off a cooldown. Will Mr. Priest look for it onto the last player? April's still alive for now. Not going to find it just yet. Will become Lightning. Jess goes wide. There comes the re-engage. 3 talent strike. Not finding the knockup. Mom comes out. And that's enough disengage for at least a little bit. But the cease and desist comes in. Majestic Penguin picks up another fight for B1 Zone as they come right back into this game number 2.
Freedom Fighters, though, they're not done. They're still snowballing forward. Popperling does take a lot of damage from the Xin Zhao. Maybe can win this one out, barely on a sliver of HP, but the minions traded. Kemsa on the other side of the fight does take down Mr. Priest, and it's Freedom Fighters getting the counter ace.
The Tiamat proc to finish the kill off on the Mr. Priest, using every single part of Kemsa's kit to allow them to win that fight. What a re-engage from them. We go back and forth and back and forth. We're playing ping pong with the waves here in this Game 2 finals, and I love what we're seeing here so far. Freedom Fighters still looking to push the pace. Respawns come in right now for B1 Zone, and they're going to force the red team away for now. And we'll once again stand back, wait for those ultimates to respawn, and do it all over again.
And how about Kemsa? I mean, Grapes having a bit of a pop-off this game. I think it's fair to say on this Riven, slammed it insta-locked in the first red rotation as well. And now he is the target, and he does get one shot. Popperling in the front line is not tanky enough. Shadow Surge to follow. That's going to be the fear landing out of the smolder, and April's not long for this world. Just as we're praising Freedom Fighters, it's a triple to Mr. Priest.
We've seen so many triple kills in this game. I mean, that's basically as close as you can get to a penta in this 3v3 ARAM mode. We've seen Mr. Priest, we've seen Kemsa, and now Zero also getting one. Things have gotten wild here in this game. B1 Zone are going to respond against the Masters team. Take that first turret. They will get responded to, though, as Kemsa going to dash in onto Mr. Priest. They will look for the shutdown. Not going to find it, though, as Kemsa is burning down with the Ignite. Mr. Priest staying alive. He'll finally go down, and with Mom coming over the top, it finally is the Freedom Fighters picking up the ace.
Looking a little dicey, though. Freedom Fighters, it is not all in their control just yet. B1 Zone fighting back, wanting to send us to a Game 3, Graves. It is, though, Freedom Fighters now onto the tower. They want to continue pressing their marginal advantage.
And importantly, Kemsa opting to take the Health Shrine instead of dying to the Execute. So they think that they can win another fight as soon as those ultimates come back up. I will say, they did have to use a ton of resources to take Mr. Priest out, and now that he died with the shutdown on top of him, has a lot of more time to build more items. You see the Leandries, the Lost Chapter, the Sorcerer Shoes, and the Oblivion Orb on top. That is a lot of different damage, a lot of different items doing a lot of different things. And this suddenly becomes a situation where Mr. Priest, one of the strongest players in this game, we'll see how much he can do here in this fight, landing the fear and getting the kill onto Kemsa. It'll just be a 1-for-1 as Majestic Penguin falls in response. Second proc of the Shadow Surge, not finding anything, so now Mr. Priest will have to back away. We got 35 kills in 10 minutes, Hawk. This is what we love to see in our grand finals.
This is ARAM, ladies and gentlemen. What a game it has been so far. Majestic Penguin, I will say, dies so fast in the front line. This Vi all about that lockdown, a little bit of single target damage, and then just gets popped like a balloon. You just gotta hope if your B1 zone, that Zero and Mr. Priest are enough to clean it up on the back end. On the other side, though, April, 137 stacks on this Smolder, has the splash unlocked about halfway to that smoldering time, Grapes. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, and even though B1 Zone have been able to match pace with the Freedom Fighters, the Freedom Fighters have the ace up their sleeve, right? They have the scaling Smolder, and even though it's been kind of even so far, Freedom Fighters are okay with that being the case because they know they have this win condition ultimately coming into fruition. And the important thing, they have to keep the waves in the right spot, because if April dies in a situation where they are underneath their own tower, the death timers might be too long for them to, you know, respawn and save the game before he buys anything more.
And Grapes, I will say, we've seen this before, right? It is B1 Zone matching pace with Freedom Fighters, but look at where the fights are happening. Look at where the waves are. It is Freedom Fighters still pushing up, and we know it only takes them one decisive fight. Kemsa goes in to find it, but he does get zoned away from the Crescent Guard. It's going to be the one-shot onto Mr. Priest, and Zero's already down.
There we
it's
go.
rated 1 for 2 so far, as it is only Majestic Penguin alive. He will survive, at least for now, but Freedom Fighters win the fight.
It's smoldering time a little bit early this time, Hawk. It will be 2 for 1. Mr. Penguin dashing in to try to find something, but will still go down. It is Freedom Fighters once again getting the ace, getting a timer with a wave underneath the enemy tower. That will be the inhibitor structure falling. The inhibitor, I don't think, will end up going down unless they are quick enough to it. Respawn's finally coming in. Mr. Priest has to walk in to avoid going down. Not able to use the Hex Gates. Instead, Zero will be the one to use his. Now trying to fight this in a 1v2. Crescent Guard not available, so has a lot of vulnerability, but going straight onto the Smolder. Has enough healing so far. Flash away from the wind, becomes lightning. In comes, there's the engage, and the shutdown finally picked up for Zero.
They are at least able to answer back. It was a lost fight, but it was not the game-losing fight like we have seen in the past for teams against Freedom Fighters. Inhibitor drops, but they defend the Nexus towers. April, low on HP, no flash up and available, does make this next fight difficult. Kemsa though, he's into the back line.
On the back line they go. They find the kill onto April, and that is what B1 Zone need. It's a double kill now here for Zero. All 3 men dead for the Freedom Fighters as B1 Zone now looking for some tempo advantage of their own.
Popperling does have super minions to try and defend, as well as his own life. Might be able to clear this one out before everybody is able to respawn, and I don't know if B1 Zone can actually get the tower here, Grapes. In that last fight, Kemsa tried to game right there on the Riven, flashing back in, barely didn't have enough damage on his own.
And right now, the scaling actually kind of working in favor of B1 Zone, at least for now. If we can get a stack check on the Smolder, I'm curious to see how quickly April will be able to get to that execute threshold. 180, so we're getting closer and closer, but not there just yet. I think this right now, this point in the game, is where B1 Zone can utilize the 2 items in Zhao, can utilize Vi coming in, and of course Mr. Priest, who's been popping off all game, to have a good opportunity and win a couple of fights.
They have more resources up right now, Grape, so now would be the time to go. Kemsa, though, he's the one that pulls the trigger. Stolen away, ult by Popperling, does get the first kill onto Mr. Priest. It's not much longer for Majestic Penguin. Zero now in the 1v2, but I don't think that's a fight you win. Kemsa and Popperling find the shutdown.
It was 1v1s all across the abyss right there here for Freedom Fighters, and 2 of the 3 end up winning. The rest are able to collapse on top of the remaining survivors, and now the death timers are long enough. Here comes Freedom Fighters onto the enemy Nexus. First Nexus tower is gone. Second Nexus tower will soon fall, and it will be 5 seconds till anybody else respawns. It looks like Freedom Fighters are going to stay back. They want one last fight before they try to end the series. Snowball comes out, They're doing the honorable deed and letting Blue B1 Zone try for one final attempt.
Honorable from the Freedom Fighters. Not ending the game just yet, but Kemsa wants to continue the fight. It is a shutdown off of Pop Relink in Grapes. I think we are going to get one more 3v3 fight before it is all said and done.
Look at the bush. They don't know. It's going to be 2 members for Freedom Fighters catching out Majestic Penguin. They're going on 0 as well, but Kemsa is going to get burned down. That is 0 picking up the kill, and only April left alive for the next 10 seconds. Pop Reeling will respawn fast enough for that defense of the tier 2 turret to happen. Majestic Penguin desperately looking for that engage. If they can find the cease and desist onto him, that could be a big angle for B1 Zone to get back into this game.
I will say, Grapes, too, this could be a huge win condition for teams when they fall behind in ARAM.
Oh,
if
nice
you can stagger the respawn timers, continuously find odd numbers fights, it can be so good. B1 Zone looking so hard for it, but April, the beautiful kiting, and now B1 Zone, they're out the health disadvantage, and guess who's coming back in 1 second?
Kemsa, who've just respawned. It was a nice use of the Smolder ult to clear the wave out to make sure there was no threat of a tower being sieged upon. Here comes Kemsa back from the death chamber. All 3 members of B1 Zone are now half HP. Pop Reeling has the stolen away Shadow Surge, looking for an engage onto a main carry. Will not be able to find his fear, but will have the opportunity to gap close a ton. And it'll be up to Freedom Fighters to pull the trigger. And I think they will win a fight if it's just an even 3v3 because of the health pool advantage.
And at some point, B1 Zone, they'll be forced to go. Super minions Kunga lining their way into the basin and an exposed Nexus standing between them and defeat.
The Smolder Bucks finally unlocked. They're going to go in right now. Right now, Kemsa getting stunned up and taken down by 0, but look at April in a 1v2. The execute's not there just yet. Looking for one last proc. Will not find it. It is now a 2 for 2. 0 still alive. Pop Reeling, the only one left to defend. They're going to go all in. Nice Danyas to prevent the minions from doing the work. 0 able to heal up a little bit longer. One more spell would do the deed, but they're not going to find it just yet. There it goes. The W in here for Pop Reeling, and he has a lot of time to take down this inhibitor and try to end this game.
And Freedom Fighters, after a very well-fought series, B1 Zone gave it their all, but it's the Freedom Fighters that are going to take the Department of Air Force Gaming 3v3 ARAM Championship, Grapes.
One more auto here from Pop Reeling. Gonna try to find the kill on Mr. Priest first, but instead we'll just let the Nexus fall. Freedom Fighters go undefeated and are your Air Force Gaming League League of Legends champions.
And bragging rights, the championship coin now in their possession. B1 Zone, what a fight it was from them. I mean, sticking to their guns, really going toe-to-toe with the Masters team. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Freedom Fighters clearly were head and shoulders above the competition, playing such an incredible game.
And it was everybody stepping up at different times for Freedom Fighters in that game. It was, of course, at the start of the game, the Riven pop-off coming out, and then at the end, it was Pop Reeling on the Silas ending the game, and April doing a lot of jobs in the team fight category throughout the entire game. B1 Zone, I, again, appreciate their ability and their willingness to change up their playstyle when they realized that what they've been working with throughout the entire tournament was not going to work against this team, and they came very close to having an opportunity of sending us to a Game 3, but at the end of the day, it is the Freedom Fighters once again taking the crown.
Yeah, and I mean, again, this team looked so incredibly good. Kemsa on the Riven in that last game. I mean, that is what it is all about. So hype seeing those mechanical plays. Clearly, Freedom Fighters, they were having some fun for it, going for the outplays. But Grapes, we've got one final winners interview before we wrap up the stream.
Yeah, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking with one of the Freedom Fighters about their championship here in the Air Force Gaming League Finals. Welcome back, everybody, to the interview desk, where we have Kempsey Kempsa, victorious player on the AFGL winning team in the Freedom Fighters. First of all, Kempsey Kempsa, congratulations on the win. Popped off with that Riven at the start of that second game. Were you expecting your opponents to like change up their playstyle and go for the full brawl after you guys, won pretty handily in that first matchup?
No, not at all. We were really surprised that they pulled this in Zhao, and he ended up knocking me up a bunch, and it got really annoying, but I think it was smart by them to do that, because otherwise we were just focusing their ADC every single time. So he's just like, I can't play anymore. I'm just going to go in and then hope for the best.
Seems like the best worked out pretty well for you guys. And I mean, being able to win the championship, so awesome. But I've got to ask, you all are active duty service members right now in the Air Force. How do you maintain masters while you're doing that? I mean, that is impressive.
True. I mean, I played League a lot before I joined the Air Force, and I guess the Air Force gave me more dedication, and I actually just started ranking up more after I joined the Air Force. So I think the Air Force instilled some hardworking ethics into me, so it makes me want to win more.
Wow, that's very cool to hear. Like, even though, you probably have more things that you're, busy with now that you're an active service member, just the values that, of course, are instilled in you guys help to climb a little bit. And I see you have your profile picture here of LeBron James. And LeBron James, of course, very known for winning and for building some super teams. And you guys got a super team of your own here on the Freedom Fighters. What was it like building the squad, finding the teammates that you thought could win this tournament together?
Yeah, I'm really lucky to have the guys that I got around me, because just a couple months ago, I met Properling. Found out that our birthdays are actually 2 days apart. We're both 21. His birthday is only 2 days away from me. I was like, oh my god, this is a match made in heaven. But then we picked up Shiro. He's a really good ADC player, and ever since, we've just been popping off. We also were going to play in the Concord tournament. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because I was still in tech school, because I just joined last year. But I was hoping to go to the Concord event with them. They absolutely demolished that without me, and I'm just proud of them. And I thank them for playing with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, shout out to the team, Kempsey Kempsa. I mean, shout out to all of you for again, a very massive and deserved win. Last thing before we let you go, do you have any other shout outs, anything else you want to say to the fans before we wrap up the stream?
Yeah, shout out to the production team. The production team was amazing. Like, actually, I watched the Concord event, and compared to this is like LCS level. So you guys got to keep doing what you're doing. Like, actually fantastic. Also, shout out to the other teams that we played. B10, they did really good, and along with the other team, they definitely handed it to us in the first game, so props to them too, and thank you everyone for playing.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Kempsey Kempsa. Congratulations on the win. Wishing you the best, and of course, big thank you for your service as an active service member in the Air Force. We're wishing you the best of luck in any other competitions you play with AFGL in the future. But Hawk, it is time for us to wrap up the show, as we had a really fun day in the League of Legends tournament here in the Air Force Gaming League. It was a lot of fun, and I want to re-echo the sentiment shared by Kempsey Kempsa at the end of the interview. A big thank you to all of our production team, both here at Rally Cry, as well as everybody at Load Screen that's been helping us out behind the scenes, our TD Cynthia, our producer Emily, and of course our observing team in Samantha Price and Elton. It was a lot of fun working with everyone, and I thought it was a really fun event to celebrate a lot of people that are doing a lot for our country right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Air Force Gaming clearly putting together a great community with what they have right here. Speaking of, League of Legends, not the only thing that they got going on. They've got some Street Fighter 6 tomorrow. They've got some Call of Duty tomorrow. So you are not going to want to miss it. More awesome gamers in the Air Force going to be taking each other on for bragging rights, friendly rivalries, and of course, those all important prizes. But I mean, Graves, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you on the stream today, my friend. And I mean, hey, 3v3 ARAMs, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to play some more of those. I think now after we got to watch the domination from Freedom Fighters, maybe take some of their strategies in there. But yeah, once again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you were a big fan of the Air Force gameplay and you want to see some more action, once again, you'll be right back here tomorrow for Street Fighter 6 and Call of Duty. We got some great talent joining us. We got Ravish and Beautiful Crow here for Street Fighter. You're gonna be all set. It's gonna be a really great time, so make sure you stay tuned once again tomorrow for our finals in those other games. But for now, we'll say so long here from the DAFGL, and we'll see you tomorrow.